points and eliminations are also going to make it. But guys, that's not it. We also have 11 new teams joining us tomorrow, where we're going to actually have 6 games. So again, if your favorite team doesn't go through, do not fret. They're going to have another opportunity. But for right now, everyone, let's hop into game number 1 and let's join our 2 casters. It's Jacob and Takada.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Great breakdown from the desk. But Jacob, as a reminder here, we're in day 2 of the semifinals. Day 1, 11 duos qualified, 5 from the Victory Royales and 6 from the consistency on the leaderboard. So now in day 2, we also have 11 new duos. The drop spots are changing. The rotations are changing. We have a lot of action to unfold today.
Can you believe this is game number 1? Now, I'm already getting the chills, because if yesterday was anything, a little bit of a teaser of what we're about to see today, we're going to see all-out action through 5 straight games. And I think you hit the nail on the head. 11 newcomers. Today starts their journey, and they don't have to wait long. The battle bus is ready. Game number 1 is on our hands.
Game 1 of 5, Jacob. Our duos are getting ready. The engine for the battle bus is starting. These players have been waiting for this moment. They've been prepping for this moment, getting their rotations down, getting their paths down, knowing their strategy to take home that victory royale. And we're just getting it started here in one of the most popular POIs, Tilted Towers.
Yep. I thought it was going to be triple con, but already you see with those freed up POIs around the map, some teams may have made some last-second adjustments. Will that work? Will that not work? We're going to have a lot of time to find out. But a team that was sitting on that bubble for so long, this team right here, Combat and Zays, unfortunately enough, they were in 8th place, Takada. 8th, all the way up until that 5th and final game. They went down early, and they barely missed out on that bubble by 10 points. 10. That's not a lot. And this is another one of those duos, Ghosty and Flameback, over here towards Daily Bugle, where there was a lot of contention that went down, and rightfully so. Panda hit the nail on the head how important this POI is.
But I mean, Jacob, you know, if you're that close to qualifying day 1 of the semis, that's going to motivate you to try harder, to do even better in day 2 and get that qualification to the finals. Here, we're seeing action in Daily Bugle, one of the most popular POIs. It has the Spider-Man web shooters every game, so you get that mobility, but it's also almost like Tilted Towers, where there's an incredible amount of loot in a short space, so it's easy to get looted up quickly.
Yeah, and it's easy to kind of lose track of each other inside of these buildings as Quaxy's trying to go in. They found the separation. We saw this yesterday, and we're seeing a repeat very, very early on in game number 1, where these teams, they just need 1 second, a millisecond of separation, and then that's where they're going to go and try to pick up those eliminations. And they went ahead and claim throw the rest of Daily Bugle, but it's not going to be for long. You see some teams already coming in and trying to peek at that action.
Oh, I mean, it's so important to finish these engagements quickly, Jacob. If you're able to secure those eliminations right off the start, you can go directly to your loot path, finish up looting, getting your materials, getting your rotate going. But if these early game engagements last a long time, it can have a very big negative impact on your late game, because you might get the zone late, you might need to get storm surge tags later if you weren't doing a lot of damage. But seeing that they got those eliminations quickly and a drop like the Daily Bugle, it's looking good for game 1.
Yeah, it's definitely looking good for them. They don't have to worry about that surge, something you talked about with how active a drop spot like that is. But for Frappi and Nate, they don't have that same situation. This is almost the polar opposite. They're not going to have that early engagement, so they're going to have time to mat up, get the resources they need. They look like they have a great loadout as well of different items that they can use in cords to prolong their journey. But the biggest worry for me is the tags that they're going to need for that surge. They're going to have a great path, and there's going to be a lot of teams around them from Camp Cuddle if they want to rotate towards Sleepy Sound, so their options are theirs, but you talked about it, timing is of the essence.
But let's take a look here at Matt, who's looking to see if he can get a bit of damage or maybe a few eliminations, going for a 2v2 box fight here, trying to get a wall replace on the ceiling, but be careful. That quick edit from his opponent, getting a bit of damage down onto him. Currently, they have a good amount of materials. They have 3 minis and 1 big pot spare, so they have what they need to come out on top in this engagement. But if they take too much time, there might be a third party coming in.
Yep, you already see it in the minimap. Multiple opportunities there. Mavs and Knobs, you seen them yesterday. Clux and Shades, they do so good in the earlier rounds. They are able to kind of assert their dominance. Their struggles kind of come in these set lobbies. So today is kind of a refresher for them, a second chance at life, another opportunity to advance to the grand finals, but they have to make it past this battle right here against Knobs and Matt, and it's being prolonged. And I like the way Clux and Shades, they're staying together on the low ground. One of the battles we saw early on, just a second of separation really costed these two teams. So it's interesting enough how neither team wants to go all in, so they are taking their time.
I mean, there's two ways you can take this engagement, Jacob. You can go all in and try and get those eliminations, or you can just play it for tags. You do a bit of damage here, you get a nice shot with that striker pump shotgun, and then you can leave it. That's enough damage for Storm Surge. You keep rotating, because if you spend a lot of time here without making a decision or making up your mind, I mean, you're going to arrive late to zone, you're not going to have a lot of materials, so they've got to either play this for tags and get out, or go in if they really need those eliminations.
Now, finally, Knob and Matt slowly but surely going down towards that layer. They're trying to take piece by piece. That control of the cover is going to be important, and Knob is doing a good job. They're pressuring Shades and Clux. They're pushing them down piece by piece, dwindling down their shields as well. And they're just doing it all with just calm, cool, collected. Just like you said, they're not rushing in. They're not putting all their game on the line here quickly in game number one. Knobs is just taking piece by piece, like I said, and continues to do so. And I like the way he's staying agile. He's staying moving, not to give any free shots over to his opponents, but this is where it's going to get sticky as Shades and Clux, they're running out of ground. They're running out of space here. Sooner or later, they're going to be converged on.
Well, the last thing you want to happen here in duos is to get full piece, to get boxed up and leave your duo alone. But be careful as Nav going in, gets a big shot off with the striker pump, but it's not enough to knock down his opponent. Matt at the same time, though, getting cracked 30 HP to work with. Now 11 HP, manages to get out of the box, but his duo has gone down. Actually, no, his duo was able to secure an elimination. Now it's a 2v1. They have the advantage, Jacob.
Yeah, I know these guys are duos, but they played that one like they're reading each other's mind. Perfect bait and switch. You kind of called it yourself. You thought it was Matt, but Matt took all that damage. Nav went in there to pick up that elimination, and now they have that numbers advantage to their side, so they can go ahead and get a little bit more aggressive than they were before, knowing there's only one player in Clux who almost looks like he has no builds left to his name. He's gonna go down. Nabs and Matt will continue what they started yesterday.
Ooh, quickly switching over to another engagement here on the snowy part of the map. We have Slick playing for a TNA and also Day for Fusion Esports. They're looking pretty healthy right now. They have a good amount of shields and also 3 peppers for mobility, but they've got a duo on top of them and they're looking like they want to get into a bit of action. But we have a replay from Day. Managed to get a nice on his opponent there, knock him down and secure that elimination. That's 3 extra points for them.
Yep. Exactly when you want to start the game, and it's a little bit quicker than we've seen some of our game number ones to start. I will say there's still that probability of the surge, but people have seen yesterday, and it was very, very aggressive, especially towards the ending portions of the day to where it's win or you're in if you're not towards that bubble for top 6. But today, they know how different this is. For those 11 duos that might not have experienced yesterday, they might be caught a little off guard, so this might be a little bit of a hiccup game for them, but it won't take long. A lot of these guys are experienced players, so they know exactly how this one will go, as Yuki and Monkey over from Tilted. It didn't kind of traverse far out of the zone because they got granted that zone in the first one, but they have to now worry about the Storm Surge. If there's no duos rotating around, luckily there's going to be one around them.
I mean, that's what these players are accustomed to doing now. When you're in the semifinals, you're going against the best of the best in your region, and these players know they need to get damage done. They have to do Storm Surge. So even though you have all the loot you need, all the materials you need that damage. Putting yourself in a position that has high elevation, just like Frappi and Nate are in right now, where you have a good vision of the whole map, is a great way to get tags, Jacob.
Yeah, you can see slow side is still down low towards Greasy Grove. About 4 teams total, kind of below that Greasy Grove line. Everybody else, the north portion, depending on this circle goes, there's going to be a lot of rotations being forced out. But for now, Frappi and Nate just looking pretty towards that high ground. They have a ton of rotation. Jump pad as well. Great heals to their name. just trying to build up that Storm Surge that we were talking about, landing in the northwestern portion of the map. Not too many contested players, not too many players at all rotating around. So that's what they're going to look for. Knock and Hove, a great team from yesterday, looking to continue their run, going up against Nico and Siderazor, a team that I thought was going to qualify yesterday. Both of them looking for that second chance, but somebody's not going to get it in game number 1, as Hove does find a way to get an elimination. It was actually Knock that got that one elimination. It looks like somebody might have taken the second one away from this duo, but hopefully they got the damage that they needed for Surge.
They got the damage. They do have that one elimination. I believe Nico got eliminated from a third party there, but I mean, at least Hove and Notch are going to get the loot. They got the materials, and now they have a lot of options. Taking a look, though, at Slick again, who's trying to get a rotate into zone. You can see that they're on the edge of zone, looking at the bottom right map. So this engagement is a dangerous one, Jacob. If this lasts a long time and that zone starts closing, which it will be in the next minute and 15 seconds, they're going to have a very difficult rotate.
Yeah. Kiowa and Trey were having trouble yesterday. Not in terms of loot. They were getting a good amount of loot. They were getting a good amount of resources, great heals, because they land that top portion, kind of a split drop, not named POI, but they were struggling in terms of getting that surge. So today, a lot of these teams have that experience yesterday, are realizing we have to do a better job of trying to get that damage or figure out a plan, get the damage and get on out instead of trying to all in. But right now, it doesn't look like either one of these teams got the surge that they wanted. They're just trying to hold each other outside of the zone, which isn't going to be too concerning because you already see in their mini-map, they're not too far off, so they're not going to have to worry about too much, especially with Trey getting in that truck. He's just trying to rotate out. He says the longer we stay here, the more danger we're going to put ourselves in, regardless of the surge situation.
I mean, both duos here do have mobility. You have Trey and Keo, who have the vehicle, but also Slick and Day that have Peppers. However, Peppers is an item that you don't want to use to rotate here in the second zone. That's more something when you're already in the moving zones. Maybe you want to make a play for high ground, so it'd be best to keep them as much as you can. But if you do end up having to use them in the mid game, I mean, it can come to it.
I like this duo on screen. After done casting yesterday, I went to watch a lot of streams. I love NA West Fortnite. There's a lot of great personalities out there. And Aguilar, just talking to him a little bit, he said, hey, we know exactly what we need to do. We know exactly how we need to switch up and what went wrong. They think the biggest things that went wrong for them is their communication off those off-drum fights. And you could kind of see it. We jumped on board a little bit. I do believe they were going to get Show and Poppy Blast. I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong out there. Anybody feel free. I'm kind of learning along with everyone out there. But the thing is, today, you already see they got those 2 eliminations. So their drops are already better. Communication is on point. So I expect to see them in endgame and have a better time this time around.
I mean, the more practice you get, the better you get with that communication. I mean, there's some veteran duos that we've seen compete. For example, Landjock and Punisher, which qualified yesterday in the first day of semis. I mean, these teams have had a lot of time to practice their comms, but be careful here as Chicken and his duo are put into a rough situation. The loot is looking amazing, but now Chicken is left alone as a solo. He has to choose if he's going to defend his duo here or he's going to try and make it escape and play it out as a solo.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to get a chance to play it as a solo here. Sitting in the middle. Look at everybody in the minimap possibly trying to make Chicken a target. Forced to use the chili splashes. He has minis, he has chug splashes, but he doesn't have a moment to use them. He's just under siege, under fire, and Kinzo just taking that as a breath, and him and Caleb are the ones that are getting aggressive, trying to pick up both of those eliminations. I like how they're keeping Kins down so they can get the siphon a little bit later, as Chicken once again is just getting pressured and get finally eliminated off the map as Kinzo and Caleb take a share of first place.
I mean, it's so difficult to come out of a situation like that where your duo partner gets knocked down and you're left alone as a solo with multiple teams spraying you, another duo pushing you, but Chicken lasted a long time. He even was able to get off some splashes there, but taking a look here at Silks, who actually is going to get cracked, has no spare shields to work with either, so this is not looking good, especially seeing that they're 41 below Storm Surge and they have to do some damage.
Yep, another team, Shallow and Biz. We saw them towards the end game quite a bit yesterday. Both of these duos are below the Storm Surge threshold, so they're going to have to take this fight. And better before, you have to use all your resources and heals, and they found some separation. Vibesy, I do believe, might go down, or at least down to 1 HP with Storm's chicken in. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to last long without some help from his teammates, but it does look like they did just enough to get them both above the threshold, so they're going to back off. Try to get the heals, but Shallow and them bids, only if they knew how weak they had their opponents.
66 damage above the Storm Surge threshold. 4 players have to get eliminated for that Storm Surge to go away, so it's still gonna last for a while. But if you're looking at Zay's right on the bottom right now, full screen, he's 157 below, Jacob. This is not a position that I'd like to be in.
Yeah, starting off in Tilted Towers, currently in Tilted Towers. Not a lot of opportunity for Combat and Zaydes to pick up that surge damage early on in the game. And now they're forced to use their resources, try to out-heal it instead of trying to just simply go for the shots. 177. It's actually, Combat's gone. He's out of the game. It's going to be all up to Zaydes by himself, finding every bit of resources, fruits, vegetables, medkits, shields, just everything he can as he's trying to just out-heal it with only a couple of players still left to go down. It's only a wonder of what other type of action is going on as he's running out of things to use, running out of ideas. Luckily, he still has the bandages, plenty of bananas, some cabbages. And this just goes to show you guys out there, Takata, make sure you guys eat your fruits and vegetables. You will live longer.
There you go. Good tips from Jacob. Good tips from Fortnite. I mean, Zaydes is doing whatever he can, picking up scraps. Even talked to the Tomato Head NPC to see if he could drop him maybe another banana, some bandages, maybe even a med kit. But I mean, he's doing what he can to survive. There's one player left that has to be eliminated, and I'm afraid it might be Zaydes, Jacob.
Oh, he's still trying, living on a prayer. Wonder if those they have to have been looted early on. He's trying to find anything living. Oh, he's gonna get. Oh, he found it, unable to use it. The corn. Only if it would have got delivered so much sooner. But with one player going down, that's gonna ease up the pressure on everybody else in the lobby, Frappi and Nate included. And for them, they did just enough damage to not have to worry about it. And that's surprisingly so. They had to travel far to get to this point.
And what I'm liking about what we're seeing here with Frappi and Nate is they have Spider-Man's web shooters. They have launch pads. They have a vehicle they can use to rotate. They literally have everything they need to get from the zone they are now to the last moving circle if they play their cards right. Even the chili chug splashes. I mean, Frappi and Nate, they're looking strong in this game 1.
Yep. Everybody else is kind of smushed towards the bottom of Tilted. I do believe I saw J Roses and E22 probably pulling zone. One of the only teams that look like they're sitting on the island, or at least towards it. Everybody is going to have to. And this is the Tilted Towers we expect to see. When you drop into a public Tilted Towers game, this is the type of combat that types to pop off. For Aguilar and Compalot, they had a big journey from the bottom of the map. They reached the center, but it's not done just yet. Everybody here is going to have to find their way in, except for Creep and Dom. And this is one of our teams to watch. Not too much know about them, but I talked about it yesterday. If we don't know about you, this is just a perfect time to make us know about you.
Actually making use of the bush here, trying to see if Dom can find an angle to get some damage, maybe even get a knock if he can hit enough shots. But so far, you can also see at the bottom right, we have the teams in Tilted that have to make the rotate. There was so many duos, just like Jacob was saying. It looks like a arena match in Tilted Towers, so all of these players are gonna have to make their rotates, maybe even reuse some materials from other duos. But meanwhile, the players that are in zone, or the players that are using vehicles to rotate, they don't have to go through a city.
I don't think he has his license yet, but that's okay. He's still going to try and make it deep towards the zone. I say towards the zone because they're not even in just yet. They're just going to line themselves up on the center. But for them, and you know as well as I do, being as experienced as you are, it's step by step. You don't have to just go all the way in towards zone. You can inch yourself in because you don't want to become the focus of the lobby. But back over to Creep and Dom, still having that cover of the bush, which allows them to shoot out and rain fire from all angles, and they can easily build to protect themselves afterwards once they make their spot known.
If Creep plays this well and waits long enough, maybe a duo will come close to that bush and he can even box him up and look for an elimination. But I'm kind of liking what we're seeing. One player in the box, one player in the bush, has a good amount of angles. We can also see Hove there, a notch. We saw them in an engagement a bit earlier. Now with 2 eliminations, that's already 6 points. A reminder, it is 3 points per elimination in these semifinals. So you can rack up an incredible amount of consistency just by securing elims.
Yep, you already see Hove and Notch still peeking out. 268 above the threshold. Not too much to worry about, but they still want to try to find those eliminations. That might have been Aguilar and Complot taking the brunt of that shot across. And Tavern, our pick, he's going to get dropped for a moment. No more shields. He's actually going to get knocked all the way. Kaz going to be left by himself, trying to be the hero of the squad. 29 HP and a dream, but he does have the resources. He has the heals, but he just needs to get a moment to catch his breath here as he's finding his way around to even catch that refresh. It might have been Turtle's fallen resources, but now they're his.
Picks up Tavern's loot, 114 above Storm Surge, trying to use those minis as quickly as possible to recuperate the shield. You can actually see Slick also was knocked down in a similar engagement, but now we have Aguilar looking to see if he can secure more. Gets one knockdown, trying to get into the box of his opponent there, but be careful. There's a dangerous situation. Storm Surge is ticking. There are a lot of duos in the surrounding area, but Aguilar seems to have got out safe with 2 eliminations, but don't want to talk too soon because anything can happen, Jacob.
Yeah, they're such in a fantastic spot. 3 eliminations, 11 splashes on Aguilar alone, and mini shields. This is a great spot. They just can't peek. They shouldn't peek. I can't say they can't, because they can do whatever they want here realistically. But look at that. They open the cover, and they find themselves a makeshift vault of sorts as a whole pile of loot towards the low ground. A full-on mat refresh, but ZNO is going to have to find a way to get 49 damage here, because he's below that threshold, and he's already taken that Storm Surge damage. So looking left, not able to see what he wants. Looking right, finally finding something in the distance, but it's only a mirage, something that isn't even there.
Oh, Zeno and Nickjaw, 37 below. They have no more heals, no more shields to recuperate this damage from the Storm Surge. They have to do damage now. Actually, look at that. There is one big pot. Zeno's going to try and pull it off, but no, is unable to get it. Goes down now. That means there's 50 players alive, so Storm Surge should stop ticking now.
Yeah, I think he kind of lived on a prayer with his teammates going down. But that's something you kind of see throughout every single region. There's going to come a point in time to where if you try to save your teammate, whether he's knocked, whether you're trying to give the heals, anything like that, you could cost you and your teammate the entire game trying to make that play. But Frappa and Nate know exactly what to do in this situation. You talked about their rotation resources in the Chili Splashes and the Spider-Man Mythics. Tons of mats as well. So the choice is there, how they want to try to get around this battlefield, but the information that they're gathering is so crucial, so that gives them the go-ahead. They're going to grab that Chili Splash, use it, and then Mythic their way towards the front side of zone.
Ooh, I'm liking this rotate with Frappa and Nate, using the Spider-Man web shooters, just like you said, combined with a Chili Chug Splash, but be careful. The rotation's just getting started. They still have a ways to go. The key of using the Spider-Man web shooters correctly in duos is staying close to your duo, not getting caught off guard as Frappa gets cracked, gets boxed up by Aguilar. He has to get out of the situation. 25 HP to work with. He got out, but now he has to get the zone. He has to heal up, and he's split with his duo Nate.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of teams trying to take a share of the high ground, but Crimson and Flux doing their best to hold on to it, and they need to be very, very aware, which is why you see them not pressuring the low ground. They're making sure anybody they hear jump padding around is not going to have a free and safe retake as they try to connect, making it easier. Frappa waiting right below him, but he's separated from his teammate Nate still. They're trying to find their way together and reunited at last, but the damage has been done. Everything has been felt. They are very low on almost everything when it comes to health and shields, and Flux and Crimson, they're not low on anything. They're just sitting high, sitting pretty, waiting for the opportunity to strike.
Meanwhile, take a look at Buzo here, using a launch pad to secure a nice position in zone. Let's see if he can group up with his duo Evol here, going fully to the low ground, boxing up, staying safe. Still has a lot of materials to work with, but what I'm seeing is they don't have any shields. No minis, no bigs on Buzo. I think his teammate has a bit. Frappa now has been eliminated from the match. We have Cypers with one elimination, 15 points, trying to get a rotate in as a solo now. Has a bit of materials, Jacob, but it's going to be a hard clutch.
Yeah, very, very hard here, but somehow, some way, with just a spicy pepper, he's figuring out, trying to pop that med kit. If he gets contested at all, gets shot at on his box, he will not be able to pop it off, so he has to go uncontested. Hob and Notch and Hove actually are trying to figure it out, editing those bottom covers, still taking shots, but their main goal here is to try to stay ahead of the zone because they have all the resources. Everything that they need is they're trying to pressure Caleb and Kinzo. They don't know that's the first place team, but they're just trying to make everybody's job that much harder as they continue to move their way in towards zone. Crimson and Flux, the team that continues to hold on to the high ground. My only question, Takada, is how much resources do they have left? Because they've been holding it for quite a while.
They've been holding it for a while. If they have a good amount of material still, they should be able to hold it for longer. But looking here at Natch and Hav, who have an incredible amount of that Stinger SMG ammunition to keep applying pressure to the duos that are below. But take a look. Looks like there's a high ground retake coming in. V-Flux and his duo, they're going to have to make a choice here. Are they going to battle it out or are they going to drop down? V-Flux drops down, giving up the high ground now. An opposing duo has it. It's Dom and his duo, Jacob.
What a perfect time, Flux. He had no ammo, 2 MK7s. All that he could do is probably throw a mini at somebody's forehead, hoping it could do damage, because that's the only hope. He has to reunite with his teammates, and that's exactly why he dropped down low. And that was the perfect opportunity for Dom and Creep, one of our teams to watch, to steal away that. To push their way through the box, taking moment by moment, trying to steal away that high ground if the opportunity prevents itself.
Already 7 eliminations for Nob and his duo, but take a look at that, taking the high ground quickly, but they're gonna get contested. They're gonna have to battle it out. It's not gonna be a free high ground right now. Hav and Notch do have it. Looks like their opponents finally drop down. They still have the chili chug splashes. They still have materials. Will they be able to secure that victory royale though? It's looking good so far, getting the tags on the low ground, getting those eliminations. There's only 3 duos left, Jacob.
Yep, 2v1v1 with Hove and Notch having that high ground. They have the resources. They have the heals. They have everything in the world. They just cannot drop down low and bring themselves to the opponent's level. And that is why hold the high ground, put the shots down, and take game number 1.
Hav and Notch played that flawlessly. From staying in the mid to low ground, securing eliminations, getting refreshes, to waiting for the perfect moment to take that high ground. And when they saw it, they took it and they finished the game off, securing the victory royale.
Yep. And you kind of, so we talked about it throughout the course of that game. And yesterday as well, it's been a thing. Taking high ground too early, it could find you some eliminations. It could allow you to make it towards that end game and pick up a couple placement points. But if you run out of match, you're going to be forced to drop down early. And a team like Creep and Dom will just be waiting for that opportunity to steal it away. And Fratby and Nate is one of those teams to where they just played a middle layer throughout the course of that end game. Calm, cool, collected, not a worry in the world, because they knew they had it in the bag.
Nob and Hot showed us how you have to play a semifinals, when you have to take high ground to secure that victory royale. But there was so much action that I want to see the desk unfolded.
So production, I don't know I think there was an error in the opening of show where we looked at our predictions, because yesterday I had Notch and Hove. Why wouldn't I pick them again? So clearly I win, everyone. Congratulations to me. All the no, but seriously, incredible performance from the
Are you sure about that, Kelly?
You know,
I think
this looks accurate to me, Kelly.
Yeah. I'm with Panda. This looks pretty accurate.
All right, listen. Just give it a game, all right? Next game, Frappe and Nate. That's how good I am, that I can see into the future. And I see Notch and Hove there. So that's all I was doing. I was just looking into the future. But we have to look into the past at some of the highlights that we got to see there, because obviously Notch and Hove had an incredible run there and a few back and forth of the height steal. Panda, we were talking about the early game.
Absolutely. I mean, look, when you're talking about a team doing big things, right? It's Fratby and Nate trying to hold on, trying to make something happen. This is your actual pick for the day, but your pick from yesterday here, and Notch and Hove, they were able to clutch it out because they knew when to take high ground. Again, veteran player mindset here going into these final moments. We watched it unfold. They, not only them trying to take high ground, somebody else did as well, but they were the ones that were victorious. They were the ones that were able to claim it, hold it, and then pressure these players down low and walk away with tons of eliminations.
I mean, Clay, there was a lot of incredible plays there, but I actually do want to talk about one of the teams that we saw steal height, Dom and Creep, doing a pretty good job there. We also focused on them at the start of the show. So, you know, they were able to show that they already were able to grab height. Next game, clearly they're going to do it again, right?
Oh, for sure. And I wanted to point out, like, normally it's like 7th in the A zone when you grab height, but we've seen this week that it's 9th zone. If you're taking height in 9th zone, you're more likely going to win that game. So I look forward to seeing what Creep and Dom can do there and see, hey, we learned, let's not take it too early. Let's go for that 9th zone, play that second height level until you get to that moment. So I think they can do it.
Clay, to add on to that, do you think that we're seeing this kind of later zone take or height take from the later zones because of the Spider-Man web shooters allowing mobility and that kind of access? Or is it because people know that this is a VR-heavy format for the semifinals?
I would say it's about 70% on the mobility and then 30% on the VR, just because we have those chili chug splashes more prevalent this season than we did the last chapter, and they're going to be in everyone's inventory because they're speed boost and they heal you up as well. So obviously players are focused on that victory royale, but having that more abundance of resources for mobility will make it a lot easier.
I mean, game number one.
I also want to add to that.
Please.
Sorry, I want to add to that because zones have been a little bit longer. I don't know if you know this, but recently, right, for those at home that might not know, the zones have been extended a little bit, causing the game to be a little bit longer, which is another factor into why high ground is being taken so late.
That's interesting. And obviously, let's recap just real quick in case you guys are joining us right now. Who was the first winner of game number one? And what do you know? It's Hove and Notch representing 33 there. I'm sure that team is feeling quite proud of this duo right now. They're going to be joining the 16 teams that qualified through qualifiers 1 and 2, and of course the 11 that qualified yesterday. But we have to look at the teams that had an incredible performance but weren't able to grab that VR. And the first name that I'm seeing is Monkey and Pump there, Clay.
Yeah, an interesting duo came out yesterday, tried their best. We're going to fall a little bit short, but they took 9 eliminations. I think they ended up getting like 3rd place there, I believe, is the point breakdown there for them. So overall, did a really great job, and they keep it up, they're going to qualify through.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And on top of that, like when you see names like J-Rose and E22 there, we saw this yesterday with them. They were there in the top 6 after game 1, but they found themselves slipping out of it. So maybe they're changing the game plan today. Hopefully they can. They just got to stay consistent here in day 2. But anything goes because there's still 4 more matches to play.
And Clay, we talked a little bit about this at the start of the show, but now that Notch and Hove has kind of moved on to the finals, or they have moved on to the finals, do you think that a team is going to try and look at their drop spot as a viable place to be landing now?
I think we're getting to the point where players are starting to realize, hey, we're running out of games today, and in the grand scheme of it all, we're almost halfway through the overall semifinals games. So I think they're starting to look at that. They're starting to say, hey, we keep getting eliminated. Maybe give it one more game, and then that 3rd game for sure we'll see a couple teams switch, just because it makes more sense. Hey, let's stop if we're losing this now to try to give us the most amount of games to succeed.
And just as Clay said, although we've just wrapped up game number 1 of day 2, we have a whole nother day tomorrow with an additional game on top of the format. So maybe your favorite teams aren't doing too well right now. Well, there's more than enough opportunity for them to look at what they're doing, maybe even VOD review and make those changes. But everyone, that's us for right now. We're going to be hopping on back to our casters for game number 2. So let's see what they have to say, Takada and Jacob.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Amazing breakdown from the desk. We are going to be getting we're going to be getting into game 2 here shortly. But I mean, Jacob, we just saw an incredible match in game 1. There was action throughout the whole game, from battles in Tilted to teams battling it out on the edge of the storm, rotating in with vehicles. I mean, that was an incredible game, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that you have to be almost picture perfect on your game plan, because you saw a couple teams that land directly in Tilted. Combat and Zay is one of them, who had a phenomenal day yesterday, just missing out on qualification. The zone stayed towards Tilted almost throughout the course of the game, and that made me think for them, they may not have known how to get that surge for a team that's used to probably rotating around, finding a spot that is easily with some high ground and rotation heavy from a lot of the other teams. But how this one will play out, we won't have to wait long. Once again, the competitors are ready A battle bus is on the way, and game number 2 is right around the corner.
Battle bus is ready. Players are dropping in. We've seen action in the Daily Bugle in Tilted Towers, but these teams, they're just getting started. 11 new duos here in day 2 of the semifinals. 11 duos qualified in day 1 of the semifinals, so the drop spots have been mixed and matched a little bit, and we're taking a look at one of the popular ones, Greasy Grove here. We have Chicken and his duo partner that actually looks like they have it uncontested, Jacob, or am I mistaken?
I mean, it looks uncontested to me, and that's a little bit of a surprise, but hey, sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and I like the way he just grabbed the pistol, saw that they were uncontested, and immediately tried to shoot at some of these players going through the sky to their own drop spot, but over towards Daily Bugle. We've seen this fight throughout 2 different days so far, and Ghosty is already trying to take some shots after G-Von and separated again. That's been the trend of Daily Bugle overall. You separate, you're probably going out.
Ooh, Jeevan is gonna go down here. That was actually the duo which came out on top in the Daily Bugle last match, if I'm not mistaken, and that engagement finished quickly, and just like the engagement in this match, it also finished quickly. It looks like these players are battling it out instantly in the Daily Bugle, which is a good call because now they can focus strictly on their loot path, on looting, getting those materials up, and I mean, you have the guaranteed Spider-Man's web shooters, so rotating later in the match shouldn't be too much of a problem.
On over towards Covert Canyon, where if you rotate the wrong direction without your teammate, you're probably going to end up lost, and the same thing will happen to you as in that last elimination. Just a little bit of separation is all it needs. Zevo and Buzzo kind of trying to get as much loot as they can. They made it far yesterday as well, but it does look like they're getting hunted. Striker, pump shotgun in hand, trying to land those jump shots and bring his opponent in. And I like the way he's playing this low ground. He's just trying to bait somebody down towards his level and negate that high ground.
Looking for that positional advantage is very important in these early game engagements, as you don't have the time to farm up a lot of materials. So it's all about having that high ground or having that positional advantage, even loot advantage, knowing the most efficient loot path in your drop spot to have more loot than your opponents. That's what it's about in these early game engagements. But taking a look at Bumboy here, who doesn't have the player advantage as he's in a 1v2 situation.
Yeah, this is not the way you want him, but Elder and Statics yesterday as well. One of those teams, and I like the way Clay kind of said it. You know, you're running out of games. If you started yesterday, you had a total of about 16 games to try to qualify. Obviously, leaderboards change against Bumboy, trying to go in and get his own leaderboard points, getting the knock onto Static, forcing Elder on the defensive. And I don't even know if he saw him try to escape there for that moment, but he's just going to turn around, try to get that siphon. But here's the audio of him trying to escape, and this is where he's going to take high ground and let that MK7 run free. Only gets 1 tag, so for now, Elder might escape, but he's going to have another opportunity here. How much can Elder run with? No mats. He's going to have to backtrack just a little bit for the tree. And great by Bumboy to deny the mats and the resource gain. So this one could be like shooting fish in a barrel. The shots get lined up, but he slides down the mountain just in the nick of time. Who thought a great escape would be that exciting?
I was biting my nails, Jacob, especially when Bumboy took down the tree. I thought it was over for his opponent, but he managed to make the great escape. He got out of there, and although Bumboy did not have the player advantage, he did have the loot and positional advantage. But look at this. Jacob, did we just see the same thing?
That wasn't a 50-50. That was a 25, 25, 25, 25. Everybody gets a share of that one. But Poppy Blast over here. This is the Aguilar fight I was talking about. Communication was hurting them, and it looks like communication hurt them again as Aguilar, after a big victory in game number 1, goes down early in game number 2.
Taking a look here at Bumboy again. Looks like he wants to get the reboot on his duo partner, G5RC, and it looks like he's going to be able to do it. I don't see any duos close by, no players close by, so now the problem here is they're going to have to farm up those materials, seeing that they had a little bit of a delay in their early game to that engagement, so it's going to take a bit longer, but if they get some lucky zones and don't have to rotate too far, it could be like that never happened.
You see that stat? That stat's scary. That stat's scary if you're a fan of Bumboy. No team this season has gone on to win a game in set lobbies after rebooting a player.
I mean, look.
I don't know if he knew that stat, but you might think twice. Is Kinzo and Caleb, second place so far. I thought they were going to qualify in qualifier number 1, but sometimes you need more than one chance. Chili Splash being used, and remember, he just rebooted his teammates, so the resources are very, very thin on this duo.
Perfect time for the stat to come up. I was going to give them a little bit of hope, a little bit of faith, but now as the duo, well, opposing duo is looking to make a push onto them, and Bumboy's duo does not have a lot of materials, does not have a lot of loot. This is not going to be an engagement they want to take, but you can see making use of those chili chug splashes to have more mobility than their opponents, disengaging successfully. And although they made it out of that engagement, now it's going to be a battle to having enough loot and materials for that late game. Taking a look though here on the edge of the map, we have Pump. I thought he was going towards his teammate, but clearly that was not his teammate, Jacob.
Yo, that tricked me too. I thought he's somebody waiting to be the guardian angel, a halo on his head, ready to save the day. But it's just an enemy. It's just evil waiting for an easy elimination and refresh as well. And it almost makes me wonder, because I didn't see his teammate on the mini-map as he forced by himself as well. Did Buzzo get taken out early? Only time will tell. But Kinzo and Caleb, the team that we saw get aggressive, are now trying to put themselves on some high ground so they can get tags that they need. But Cool and Kaboo, they're trying to sneak up on this team and really make short work, and they do it to perfection. Drops the shield in a blink of an eye, and even tags 40 white HP off of that player.
Looking now to see if they can explode the vehicle, but look at that. They said, we did enough damage, we got our Storm Surge. Take a look at the... They're going to go straight to the rotate and get a better position.
Yeah, this is, I like this play because depending on how they did overall, sitting in 24th place, it can't be too good in game number 1. You need to start building that momentum. You need to start building that positivity so that you can start to feel that even if you don't win a game, you put yourself in a position to get that top 6 points on consistency. And here's another one. I almost picked them yesterday, J Roses and E22. They're landing over towards that spot that we saw in qualifier number 1. I think it's Mighty Monument. Rich Homie Quinn and Wave qualified after a big game number 5 and a solo clutch by Wave. And hopefully J Roses and E22 don't have to follow that same road of clutching up in game number 5 as a solo, but hopefully they're going to be able to get their points. They're already in 3rd, so it's looking great for them.
Yeah, speaking a bit about Rich Homie Quinn, too, already qualified. He was actually playing trios with Wave and Cool. Cool, the player that we just saw hit the rift there at the corner of the map. So, I mean, hey, if they can end up securing a victory royale, they'll be with Quinn there in the grand finals, have some X-trio action going on. But taking a look here at Nate and Frappi, they have just as good as loot as last game. They have the Spider-Man Rev shooters. They have the launch pad for mobility, but they're in an engagement, and it's looking a little scary as Frappi doesn't have full shield. But Nate's feeling confident.
Yeah, he's definitely feeling confident. Trying to at least, at the minimum, get the tags. Ooh, spots the player out and gets the knock. This is usually, you know as well as I do, where players begin to get aggressive. Picking up this elimination is crucial for Nate and Frappi. Frappi in their way of qualification, and Nate not even going for the knock. He's just trying to chase down Bumboy, not letting this duo survive. And this is where it is going to get thick, as 22 damage is just being shaved off him. And depending if that's another enemy sitting in the storm, Covert Canyon is just a battlefield waiting for players to traverse and catch off guard.
That is the second time this game that Bumboy has lost his duo partner, living up to the statistic where, I mean, no duo secured a victory royale after rebooting. So, I mean, it's not looking great for Bumboy, Jacob.
Maybe he has a chance now. Or would that stat actually still work? I think the stat would technically still work because he did reboot his teammate, but maybe that's what he's thinking, bro. I just got to throw you in the backpack. You can watch. Just call out my resources and anything that I don't see. As this is a nice triple POV here, trying to figure out how 3 different views around the map. You got Caleb. They're sitting towards that top side of the map. Shift these shafts. You got the bottom side and Creep and Dom. And then you got that right side and J Roses and E22. 3 different teams going through 3 different situations, as Caleb and Kinzo are the ones that are looking for the tags. They have the high ground, and we saw them get in this position, and that's why they're trying to leave that high ground as well at the same time, is because they didn't get the tags that they want. There's not too many duo teams around, so now they have to start looking for them.
Luckily enough, though, Cable does have 1 elimination, so they've got a bit of tags going, but it's never enough. Taking a replay here of Bumboy to see what happened after that engagement here. He managed to barely get out, but I believe, yeah, there it is. Frappi said, I'm not done with you, using his Spider-Man web shooters to catch up and finish that elimination. In my opinion, that's worth it. That's 3 extra points that are going to help a lot for that consistency leaderboard.
Yeah, leaderboard, it's going to help for this game as well. I'm not having to worry about that surge. And for a second there, when that replay showed up and I saw Evo just hiding in that corner, I thought he was just sneaking players all over the map, getting some eliminations. So for him, he just escaped on his own right, because that could have easily been him going down. But Jay Roses, E22, trying to rotate. And it looks like they're trying to take a little bit of that slow side, maybe even take the scraps that are left over on Daily Bugle, maybe some web slingers that might be over on that side of the map. But 79 above the threshold, they're still going to be looking for tags all at the same time.
And they're going to be getting some. Now 120 above, got nice 2 shots off from that MK7 assault rifle. Now seeing if they can get a little closer, because that is a good position on the mountain of the Daily Bugle. You have a good elevation, but be careful, because if there's a duo looking at you, you don't want to end up losing shield just to get that position. So they're going to take the smart rotate here on the right side, maybe even get a bounce up with the webs to get there quickly. But be careful, because if the other duo is looking, they might get some shots off, but no. Looks like they got a clean rotate now. Taking a look at Evil and Buzo, who are 36 below Storm Surge.
I'm surprised, but at the same time, I'm not, because the 1 elimination he did get was already a weak player. Yeah, at least half HP, because he was getting shot out of the sky. And this is where Vibesy on our side. He had a rough game as well last time around that we saw him. This time, 82 below the threshold. That seems to be a common trend as he's trying to find the enemies. He's trying to break into a box. And with that Stinger SMG, it's easy. But at the same time, without your teammate, you break into the wrong box. That could be you going down and out.
Oh, that could be you getting eliminated, but I'm liking the loot here on Vbixi, who has 10 shots in their Spider-Man web shooters, 5 chili chug splashes. I mean, I feel like we've seen so many duos with incredible mobility. If you have the chili chug splashes, that's one thing. If you have them alongside the Spider-Man web shooters, I mean, you're looking great for the late game. Looking at the right side of the map as well, we have a player here looking to see if he can get a replace on the cone, but be careful. There's some edits that you don't want to open, Jacob.
No, not that one right there. Beast and Remy. Beast over peaks, but he's still putting those shots down. He's trying to do it as a solo. At this point in time, probably simply trying to do it for a refresh. Definitely the game on the line. Tiny and Fruit is that duo that is towards the bottom. 62 HP. Luckily for him, he is going to be above the threshold, so it's something that he doesn't have to worry about for now. And I say for now because sooner or later, it is going to be a thought in his mind once it creeps back on up. But for now, it's just taking it in stride. You can survive. Other teams are taking the damage. You take it step by step in order to make it to the end game.
Taking a look here at World Cut, who has 21 damage below the Storm Surge, alongside his duo Kika, with enough shields to kind of hold it up for a bit. But I mean, there's 74 players alive. That means 4 players have to be eliminated for this Storm Surge to stop. But taking a look at the right, we have Buzo again. We just saw them. They were looking so good, but now Buzo's in a 1v2 situation, does not have the player advantage, having his duo drop him materials as he's knocked down. But it looks like he's made the opponents disengage for a short amount of time. He's gonna have to either win this 1v2 or find a way to get out and pick up his teammate, but no, teammate finally gets eliminated. Now it's officially a 1 versus 2.
Yeah, I do believe Buzo was taken down early on, forced to get rebooted as Evo finally drops. At least they have that 3 points from that elimination this game. Trying to make something happen here, but he's gonna need a miracle on his side as he finally does go down to Smuck, and that was another team yesterday. They finished 7th place, right on the bubble. 3 points shy, 1 elimination. That's probably why they're getting just a little bit more aggressive this time around.
Yeah, I mean, if you're so close, it can be a little stressful, but also it can be motivating. You're 1 off. I mean, you just have to make it in this day 2 and you're in. So if they play their cards right, they just get 1 more elimination than they did yesterday. That could be enough. We can see he got a nice beam with the MK7 to secure that elimination. So I mean, that could be the 3 points that qualifies them, Jacob. I'm just saying.
Yeah, only worry that has for me is that play was already weak, going through the damage that is Storm Surge. So Worldka and Kika not getting too much damage for their own, but trying to go ahead and put the shots onto Rush, neutralize the vehicle, and make him go through that same hard journey that they're going through now. They're going to be one of the last teams to rotate in. If you can already look at the head of that mini-map, it's going to be a highly congested side. And if they're going to be the last one to the party, they can easily become the target. And already they're not in zone, and shots are already firing off.
Looking to see where they want to position themselves. Wants to get a little bit more into zone, higher up on the elevation, but be careful, because if you're right above another duo, they have the option to drop you down. Do a double spray with the Stinger SMG, and it can be dangerous, especially if other duos start looking and you start getting focused by third parties. But looks like they've made it into zone, built up their box with metal, and now it's kind of a waiting game to see where these zones close, see which damage they can do here with the MK7, or depending on the loadout they have. But so far it's looking good for a lot of these teams that have made it into zone. But I mean, Jacob, look at that mini map.
Oh my gosh, I think I only see two out of 34, maybe 3 now, as one barely got in toward the zone. That is inside, safe as can be. And for Rush as a solo, I feel a little bad for him. Frappi and Nate, they got some traveling to do, but they got a bunch of mobility. But I like the way Frappi is getting the information. He's looking towards his backside, looking towards his front side, trying to figure out where all these duos are at, and trying to figure out the perfect rotation for him and his duo to try to make. And Nate, he saw what he liked, and already he's getting that communication, trying to figure out the last resources before they make their move. And it's going to be a great move, because just like the southern portion of the circle that's in zone, that west is just as stacked.
Oh, Tilted, or actually Sleepy Sounds, getting confused there with the POIs, is right beside the zone. So the good thing is they can use these buildings while they rotate with the vehicle to kind of block off some angles they have on some of the opposing duos. But as they enter the zone and get closer, that's when it opens up. That's when there's a lot of angles, but they've done it perfectly, using that bridge to not have as much of a focus. They're getting some shots onto them, but take some shots back, hold it out, and they should be good.
And that's why I always bring up some of the content pieces from yesterday and the Storm Chasers one from today, choosing that. To watch out for. Be very, very careful where you position yourself, because Caleb and Ginzo, or a duo just like it, will not hesitate to drop you in.
Storm Surge is so important in these lobbies that you have to know every way there is to get damage done. From double splays on floors, from pre-edits, but looking at Rush here, he's trying to get into that box, get into that engagement. He's now playing as a solo without any shields. 154 damage below the Storm Surge threshold, so he has to make a play happen if he wants to come out on top. That's a duo in front of him. It's going to be a 1 versus 2, but be careful as the builds are getting annihilated here. Rush, you've got to make something happen, and you have to do it now.
Was that a boat? What was that? Just exposed a car. It was a vehicle just getting drove into him and just exploded. Great use of the resource. Whoever thought that one and that trick from up their sleeve. But you see the elimination feed. Tons of teams and duo players going down, and we're into our final 30 teams left alive. Make it 29 as Frappi goes down. So does Boyo. There's a ton of teams continuing to fall right before our eyes.
Frappi is on the ground, but Nate is seeing if he can pick him up in time. If you look at the mini-map, though, they're on the opposite side of that 5th zone, that half and half zone. They have a long ways to rotate, but they do have that launch pad. So if they can make use of it in a nice position without getting focused in the air, this could be a good rotate.
Yep, well, everybody close to them is battling each other to try to get themselves a safe spot. They just jump over everybody, say, hey, we can do this while you guys go ahead and just go ahead and cause that chaos. We're just going to find ourselves a spot in towards zone as Nate immediately gets shot upon, but it's just for a moment because you cannot focus on him for too long because every other team is now finally making their way in towards the zone. The last one finally made it in as Zaire also goes down. Salco getting that elimination. Another player on the bubble going into the 5th and final game yesterday who went down just a little too early.
Oh, you can take a look here on the top-down view. There's a lot of duos here on the west side of the circle, duos on the east. But I mean, north and south, it's looking pretty open here. Nate and Frappi, they're on a lower level here. So for that Spider-Man web shooters, it might be a little difficult to get a clean rotate. You generally want to be on a higher elevated area when looking for a rotate with that item.
Everybody here is going to have to go. Everybody getting a little bit of a mix. Not one team definitively in the front of zone, but at the same time, not one team definitively towards the back side of zone. So everybody's going to have their work cut out for them. It's Jay Rose, Sneed22 just trying to find somebody slipping, taking piece by piece away. They know a team's down there, but they can't take too long and focus on one team because of how close everybody is. And Frappi and Nate, back-to-back launch pads being used to try to get themselves in towards the zone yet again, as close as they possibly can. And they still have the Spider-Man web slinger, so rotation is easily theirs, and so is that shot from above to go ahead and take it down. But Trey is trying to go ahead and push through that box from the backside, catch Frappi and Nate off guard, but he only did so much as they finally back off.
They've got to be careful. 30 seconds till Storm Surge starts ticking. 11 players have to be eliminated to avoid that Storm Surge, and they are 170 damage below. So they have to start rotating, but also start looking for tags, looking for shots with that Striker pump shotgun, the MK7, but Frappi goes down. Nate is now alone, seeing what he can do to survive.
What can Nate do by himself? Still a ton of mobility and heals. No HP, though, currently in his inventory if he does take too many shots. But gets himself a great spot in towards zone. Turtle, Tavern, and Kaz with the high ground. Kinzo and Caleb shortly right below him, but we see what happens. Take the high ground a little too early in 7 and 8 zone. In that 9 zone, somebody could try to steal. As you see, Kinzo and Caleb waiting for that perfect opportunity, and that's Kaz staying toward the backside of the high ground, shooting them down, making sure that they don't even have a chance. But Tavern is just trying to connect, make it as safe as possible, and that's why you have the 2 different roles on the team.
Look at that double layer high ground. You had Cause extra high, so all the duos that are padding can see they've got high ground on lockdown, as Tavern is ahead of zone, so duos can't contest it ahead and they can't land on them. They had everything covered to take that high ground, but now they've grouped up, and Combat and his duo saw that opportunity to take the high ground. It is now a battle for the high ground. Jacob, who is going to end up taking it?
It looked like they got separated for a moment, and that's what took Kaz to take too much damage, and he goes down in the elimination feed. E22 trying to survive. He has plenty of splashes to go ahead and heal up that HP when it's necessary, and Tavern's gonna fall as well. Both of those players go down, but Zay's got chopped down as well. Everybody from the high ground comes falling. It's only gonna be one team left, and it's Cool and
contesting that high ground, as it seems to be a solo, so Calbo and Cool do have the advantage.
Yep, so many solo players brave enough to try to make a play for this high ground, but we've seen it yesterday as well. Bolts coming into 3rd place, almost stealing away a victory royale for himself, but again he goes to today's journey as Caleb and Kinzo. They have enough soft mats to try to get themselves in towards zone, but I think that's going to be it, so they might be trying to look for some tags, possible refresh as well. You see him looking up, gathering that information. Kaboo got shot down for just a moment. Caleb hits with a great 80 tag. Kinzo is trying to take advantage. Kaboo gets dropped. It's up to to Caleb and Kinzo. The Siphon's going to be cleaned up. They get the refresh. They got 6 eliminations so far. 5 duo teams remain, but Kinzo falls. That's Combat back from the grave to go ahead and claim that elimination and take the high ground right back, but he's going to fall. That's Caleb trying to get the resources to heal back up. Only 5 teams remain, 7 total players.
Caleb and Wombat having that engagement, that battle for the high ground. Will Combat come out on top, or will Day, another player, come from the zone and secure the high ground while they're battling it out? Looks like Day has it right now, but his duo partner Slick has been eliminated. He has the med mist to tank a bit of zone, and he also has 64 builds. So Day is looking healthy on the high ground, but Caleb, he's second high. He might still want it.
Got Mojo and Salco towards the bottom as well. One of the only few duos left. Caleb is just trying to put down the necessary shots. That's going to be a big one onto Combat to pick up that elimination. They have 7 so far, but with no resources, he's going to have to recycle. He's going to have to play this one perfect. Mini shield at the right time, using the big pot, but he doesn't have enough space. He gets shot from above, dropped to 2 HP. There goes Day to finish off that elimination. We got a 2v1v1. Day, Vibesy versus Mojo and Salco. Only one team can take the victory royale in the end, and Day has all the mats in the world. He has a great med miss and a great opportunity.
3 duos alive, 4 players. That's 2 solos and 1 duo. The duo is Salco and Mojo. They have 8 total eliminations on the low ground. They have the med mist to tank it. They have the player advantage. It looks like they have everything they need to take this game. 1 player also on the high ground, which is Day. Will he be able to do it, Jacob?
Trying to figure out, I was gonna say, Vibesy finally going down to the store. Armor wall on today. Salco knows his teammate is gonna go ahead and stay in the zone. He's gonna be the one to rely on. His HP is dwindling though. Salco is gonna go down. 1v1. Mojo has what it takes to win this heal off, using the med mist first. Day is trying to find his opponent. He's using a med mist on his own, but he has no splashes. That's going to be the difference maker. Day has to drop down and take out Mojo before the splashes come into play, but it doesn't look like he's gonna get that opportunity. Mojo's on the run, and he will take game number 2 and advance to our finals.
We just saw a heal off here in Chapter 3, something that is not very common. Both players making use of the med mist, but only one player making use of the chug splashes, and that was Mojo and Salco, who came out victorious.
Yeah, it was yesterday where me and Clay were kind of having a little fun with Salco hiding behind a tree, trying not to be too suspicious. Unfortunately enough, he went down in, I do believe it was 9th place. They were 12 points shy. Now, they don't have to worry about points at all. They're going directly to our finals, and they get to watch and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Very well played there. We even saw the Salco did not give the elimination today, refusing that Siphon heal that he would have got if he ended up securing that elimination. And I mean, that could have been the game changer.
Yeah, that would have definitely, that's something I didn't even think about throughout that entire process. And that's why you're a resident pro player. That's why I trust in you to guide me through this journey.
I mean, we just saw a crazy match be unfolded in front of our eyes, but I need the desk to break that down for me.
It seems like with this format, heal-offs aren't that prominent, but there we had it in game number 2 of 1v1 situation, and it went to the way of the heal-off, Panda.
It definitely did, and that's what you kind of want to do in a situation like that. They had the low ground. They were getting elimination after elimination, and that's why they were able to pick up on all of the heals that were down low. You see the chug splashes and that med mist in play. Again, the med mist is new to Chapter 3 Season 1, so this is definitely a new dynamic to the way that players can win a game, and it's been very effective. We saw it yesterday with Snacky and Fabs in a similar situation, being able to win with a heal off. So now it's Mojo and Salco taking advantage of that same strategy, and I gotta say, they did exceptionally well here.
I think what I want to break down right now, though, Clay, is that, you know, we keep talking about the factors for success, and especially in this kind of format, and a lot of people seem it's going for height. Everyone is trying to steal height, and we even talked about the early show that it's all about taking height a bit later on than we're used to. But what we just saw right there from Mojo and Salco is that you can be on the low ground and kind of maintain all of your resources where everyone is fighting for the high ground. And if you even are able to take it and give yourself that advantage, you no longer have mats, you no longer have heals. So Clay, when does it become a realization that height isn't what matters.
Just depends on your play style, really. I mean, we saw back in the last FNCS seasons with the reboot rounds, not everyone won from high ground. They played their game, and low ground will win you games. It's rare, granted, right, in these past couple seasons where people aren't looking up towards the high ground. But now with more and more players looking up towards the high ground, I think we see people from first moving zone into second hold the high ground, but then after that it's a free-for-all. Everyone's looking up, everyone's going up, and so low ground is usually a little bit more safer during these times of turmoil.
And that's exactly what we saw there. But, you know, we keep looking towards the Victory Royale winners here, but that's just 5 of the teams that are going to be moving forward. Also, consistency is a key part of the competition today. And Kenzo's team has almost gone 100 points in just 2 games so far, Panda.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we talked about it. There's 2 different ways you make it through here. You can make it through from that VR, or it's that consistency. Caleb and Kenzo, they're choosing the consistency route, getting second place, I believe, in the first game, and now just staying consistent here in game number 2. So this is a good look here for them. If they can maintain this, this can be an easy qualification to the finals.
Lots of ways to be able to make it into the finals, everyone, and maybe day number 2 just isn't the day for them. Well, we also have day number 3 tomorrow as well, where 12 final teams will be moving on to the finals. But speaking of teams moving on to the finals, let's look at which team is moving on, joining Notch and Hav. And of course, it's Mojo and Salco going for the heel off on the low ground there with a handful of eliminations as well. So incredible performance there, and love to see how they're going to be performing in just a week. But we just talked about Caleb and Kenzo having a great performance, 92 points, 31 ahead of Tutu and J Rose's Clay. I mean, clearly this is a good start for them.
It really is. It's not anything guaranteed quite yet, because we saw it elevate a little bit more over in EU and NA East. But as long as they just keep playing consistency, they're looking good. Slick and Day moving to 4th place with that finish was great overall for them. But after those, bottom layers on the bubble, it's getting really, really close.
Oh, without a doubt, any of those teams there still have an opportunity to move forward into the finals. But of course, game number 3 is going to give us that kind of insight on which teams are that much closer. So with that being said, Jacob and Takada, take it away.
Takada, this has been a phenomenal 2 games to start the day. And a lot of our teams that were actually slacking yesterday, that some of us kind of predicted to have a better day, are performing today. And do you believe, as a competitive player of your past, is it better late than never?
I mean, coming off from having a day 1 that didn't go so well, or maybe even went really well, but you were just a few points off qualifying, it can be motivating, but it can also get a little more stressful. You know, that's 1 day down where you had the opportunity to qualify. Now you're on to day 2, but listen, the battle bus is ready, the engine's getting started. Let's see if these players can make it happen.
Make it happen indeed. 2 games down, 3 games to go. This is kind of that swing game for a lot of our teams that are not necessarily in the bubble. I'm talking about teams that are possibly 16th through maybe 30th. This is that swing game to where in games 4 and 5, you might have to go for that victory royale. And for others, you might be able to play that game that got you this far. And just like that, before anybody can really touch the ground, Fruit, you're back to the lobby.
Oof, already 1 player down, but taking a look at this engagement that we're going to see in Chonkers as we have Poppy Blast and Aguilar. You've been talking about this duo here for a bit now in these matches, and they are getting into an engagement right off the start of every single match, Jacob.
And for them, they said it was the communication. Oh my gosh. Or maybe it's 2 quick shots like that. Complomp, not even a chance here. And this is where he's going to have that tough decision, Takada. Do you go in? Do you try to get aggressive and get your teammates reboot card, possible eliminations as well? Or do you continue to play the rest of this one out as a solo? And we're roughly less than 5 minutes into the game. Playing this one out as a solo is a daunting task.
I mean, Poppy Blast already got that elimination, meaning he did get the Siphon Shield, has the same amount as his opponent here, but this engagement could go any way. Blast actually going to get knocked down, making it a 1 versus 1. Show versus his opponent here. Who is going to be able to come out on top of Show? Now has 5 splashes, even more. Correct me. He can get it full shield. Look at the loot, Jacob.
11 splashes, and he didn't even open up a single, or maybe one chest at the end, but that's because that's the new coolers to this season. And at first, when I was playing it, I was kind of skipping past a couple of those, but after watching and seeing how much opportunity for those chug splashes, you have to go ahead and utilize those coolers, and Complot has to figure out a way to get Aguilar's card and get out alive, because he has no heals, he has no resources. Even with a chest right there and some bandages, that's not enough to fight this fight.
I mean, he might know that Show has the splashes from that cooler, but what he doesn't know is he has even more splashes from the chest and even more loot now. So he has to make that decision. Do you get out, or do you just take the engagement and try and come out on top? It's a 1 versus 1, even though we're playing duos here, and this is a very important key match. We're in game 3. If they're going for that top 6 spot in the consistency leaderboard, I mean, this is an important match.
Yep, Compalomp looks like he already has Aguilar's card, but this being a 1v1, I can see why he's staying here. He's trying to make sure that he doesn't just give up all this free loot and all these free resources. He has to at least bring something home for when he finally reboots Aguilar. But you can already see on your minimap, there's a couple teams, a couple players just waiting for this one to finish so they can try to get tags of their own, as Compalomp knows that his player is a solo. And it already looks like with the Striker and the MK7 that he possesses, he might have a little bit of advantage in terms of weaponry, and he knows where he's at. And this is where the battles are going to begin.
The engagement is coming to a start here, Jacob. Both players have a good amount of loot. Both players have a good amount of health and shield. It's just up to who can come out on top. Nice shot from Compalomp there, opening a chest, securing a bit more minis, but he's already got 6. It's all up to just who can finish this engagement. But take a look. Show might be backing off. He might say, all right, this is getting too risky. We're wasting too much time. I'm going to go for a vehicle. Look at that, though. Dom and his duo Creep have... I mean, they've came in for the third party, and they want to finish it.
Yeah, for them, depending on if they're watching the elimination feed, because that's another thing. I love these content pieces, knowing your drop spot, knowing who not only lands there, but around you as well. So if they were watching that elimination feed, they see Aguilar go down, they see Poppy Blast go down, and not see the teammates, they're like, hey, these are free eliminations ready for ours for the taking here. And Compalomp is finally going to see, hey, I bit off more than I could chew. It's time to get out of here, but the shots are ready. And Dom gets in the car. Dom gets in and doesn't let Compalomp out alive. If you want to take the game in your hands, that's exactly how you do it.
That is perfect timing. But let's take a look here at our duo, which placed second in our last game, Day and Slick. They're under the duo here of Shallow and Biz, and it looks like they're getting to an engagement right off the start and more of a split drop of the map. So Slick here actually has no shields. I'm not sure if Day has some extra shields, maybe minis or bigs, but it looks like their opponents are going to be disengaging, which it seems they also don't have shields, as one of them is on less than 50 shield right now. If he had minis, he would be at 50. So it looks like both duos decided mutually, you know, let's not take this engagement. Let's make it happen later. We want to loot a bit more. We want a bit more shield. We want a bit more mats, and then we can make it happen.
And for Slick and Day, I mean, the choice is definitely theirs. They got second place last time. Slick, I know during the qualification process was really trying so hard that he messed up his own stream in that final game. Nobody was able to watch, but a replay is on the way for some of that action that we might have missed early on, but it's going to be Day and Slick. They're trying to move up on this other duo, Slicksy, and I do believe that's Vibe, but this is where Dom and Creep came in, and they immediately eliminated him, and Dom just gets in the car, peeks on over the top on Compalomp, and that's where when you're Compalomp, it's just a lose-lose situation. You get out, you're getting taken out. You stay in, you're getting taken out.
Yeah,
like
it was just
right here.
It was not looking good. Taking a look though at another engagement here, a lot of battles happening here on the map. We can see Clux and Shades with the high ground, trying to see if they can make this engagement come to a close. But I mean, the loot on Clux, you could argue that it's not that good, but look, I'm a believer in the epic pistols. All right, they do a lot of damage quickly if you don't miss your shots. The bloom isn't as heavy. I mean, if you know what you're doing, I'd almost prefer a pistol to some of the assault rifles.
Yeah, a lot of people are kind of sleeping on those pistols this season. 25 to the body, 50 to the head. So you could really end one in 2 shots to 4 shots. So that is definitely something you got to watch, especially if you're not expecting it, just like you say, where everybody's kind of opting for those Stinger SMGs. But you saw a moment ago, 3 teams here stacked on the round. Now we're going to drop to 2 as Bo Crows and Sweat are going to be the only 2 towards the bottom. And both of these teams in 33rd place. So this is going to be a big game. If they don't have a massive game here, they're really going to be relying on that victory royale for the final 2.
Oof, I mean, yeah, but it's not the end of the world if you have to do that victory royale, because I mean, it's a possibility. You get some good loot, good mobility, set yourself up for the end game, and take that high ground at the right zone, you have a good chance of coming out on top. But taking a look at a team that's feeling a lot more comfortable at second place, being J Roses and Tutu, already with 61 points. And not only that, they have a good amount of loot, have the chug splashes, have the bigs, the minis, launch pad for mobility. Now it's up to damage. Will they have enough storm surge coming to these next zones? Will they have a good enough position to not loot?
And that's where I like where you can see a lot of players might turn and try to take that fight and get an early elimination or another elimination in their case. But they know they already got that elimination on the lower side of the map, so now it's just about positioning and the rest of the surge damage that you're looking for. Is Daily Bugle hot as can be, just like we dropped here right off the start. It's actually hotter than that as Sunset trying to get the elimination, spinning around in circles. Salt Lover is going to be the first one going down, so it's all up to Sunseat trying to go ahead and pick up the elimination, carry her teammate out to safety. And this is where the elimination is going to be important, because it forces that player to play a little passive now that it is a solo.
Looks like they are going to be able to pick up their duo partner there, but look at the amount of players. We have Rush. They're popping some shields at the bottom. An opposing duo coming in for the high ground for a third party, and I believe even another player in the middle of the building here. So this is almost like an early game off-spawn engagement with the amount of duos that are here.
Just trying to count right now, because there's a couple of solo. 1, 2, 3, 4... possibly 5 if you count the 5th one, a 6th and a 7th, with ones kind of traversing in, and then we go back down to 6, because I do think the solo finally got out alive, but almost doesn't matter because of that statistic that we saw early on that is still going to reign true here in this game. But Frappi and Nate currently sitting in 8th place. You see them here in this trio kind of thing. 3 different duo teams, call them a little bit of a trio here. They're all going to try to disperse, get out. They know they have a long journey towards the zone, and the only ones that are going to sit here and look for shots are Balance Photo and Murph Nevitz.
Ooh, take a look at that. Rush is actually going to get the reboot, too, on his duo partner. I mean, we just saw him in the Daily Bugle, and he very quickly was able to get to a reboot van and reboot his partner using those Spider-Man web shooters. So now he won't have as many shots if he's able to make it to the late game, but at least he used it for a good cause, getting his duo partner back up. Now, though, Nevitz and his duo Balance Photo are going to be using a vehicle here to get the rotate into zone. You can see they marked a high elevation position. They have 0 elimination, so they most likely need to do damage, and that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, get a spot a little bit out of the zone, high ground as well. You know, everybody's going to be trying to pass by there to get themselves their own spot in towards zone. But J Rose is an E2-2. 1 elimination to their name so far. Foxy gets a good shot onto J Roses, drops the shield right on off, forcing him to stumble, trying to get out of the box. Him and his teammate are separated for now. J Rose is trying to take the high ground. I think that's where he's going to make the call for E22 to take a little bit of the high ground, create some separation, and not get split up. But there's another team trying to disrupt the fight and make their job that much easier. With them being 362 above, they need to figure out a way to get out of this position, because with multiple teams trying to end your qualification run, already sitting in second, this could be disastrous. But for Jay Rose, as he knows his situation is in, he's getting aggressive. He landed some early tags, so it's not going to be one he wants to back off of.
This is a very tough decision, Jacob, because they have that damage advantage. They actually have a knock now, so this is the confirmation. They're going to go in. They're in the 1 versus 2 with the player advantage. Jeev is going to be cracked as well. No shields to work with. 2 opponents trying to get into his box here. There's not much left for Jeev in there, but Jay Rose's and his duo partner come out on top. What I was saying beforehand, though, is if you don't have that knock, and even though you get the crack, if you're good on Storm Surge, you have mobility, you have shields, you have to make the choice. Do you want to keep going for this engagement, seeing that you do have the advantage, or maybe do you just want to rotate the zone and not risk it since you're already 2nd place on the leaderboard and all you have to do is secure more points each game?
Especially when there's a lot of hungry duo teams that are also going to be looking for similar eliminations, even trying to steal those away in the midst of the battle. But Zare and Fade, they won a game in qualifier #1. Since then, they haven't had the best time of their life in these set lobbies. Looking for a change here today. Attacking from the low ground. Slick and Day falling from 2nd down to 3rd. Not too much of a slide, but they know end game is where they're going to pick up a lot of their points, but they need to survive. In order to survive for the end game, Takada, they might have to go through this duo.
They might have to. It also depends on where this zone closes. Only 8 seconds left till we see the next location. Taking a quick look, though, at Tiny here and his duo Fruit, who are trying to get more damage done. They're 98 below, but be careful. You peek too much and you might lose a bit of shield there, so they've got to be careful. We have Poppy Blast. We saw him in the early game in that engagement in Chonkers, but Tiny's made the decision. We're pushing the duo. We're going for the engagement, but that plan gets stopped very quickly as Tiny gets knocked down. Fruit with only 18 health to work with here, trying to survive, popping mini shields. This is not looking good.
And everybody that actually did get those knocks, I don't believe neither Fruit's team or the other one got either one of those as Poppy Blast and Show towards the low ground. Even though they didn't get the knock, they're trying to get the cleanups here, and they can still get one onto Fruit. The piece is going to be taken, and Fruit is going to go down. Show and Poppy Blast are going to pick up that one and continue on their journey. 16th place. This is the bubble for the bubble that I'm talking about, to where you need to have a big game #3 to put you in contention for consistency to even be a chance. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck going for that victory royale.
And that's what we were saying. Game 3 is such an important match. You don't want to end it quickly, and that's why a lot of these duos are trying to survive as long as they can, get to that end game, and make the game count. Slick here actually has the Spider-Man web shooters now. Not sure if they also has them, because if they both do, then that's going to make it a lot easier to rotate in the late game. But taking a look here at World Cup and Kika, who are only 11 below Jacob. That's just one shot with the MK7, and then they don't have to worry anymore.
Yeah, forced to use 2 different big pots, a 3rd onto World Cup, make it a 4th. All their resources going out the window. Only 1 big pot for the both of them. They desperately need this 11 tag, and they have to start hunting for it. 2 different 19s, and they're still below the threshold. Now they're going to be above it. Barely above it, and they're going to survive for now. Only needed 1 player to go down, as it might even look like they might fall below it here. But even if they survive right here, Takada, this is only the first surge that we're seeing in the game. It's still going to be haunting them. It's still going to be in the back of their mind as something that they have to achieve. And with no resources, no type of shotgun striker auto or anything on World Cup, with only 13 medium ammo, he desperately needs a refresh.
This is looking a bit scary. I'm getting stressed out just watching World Cup here as that Storm Surge threshold gets lower and lower, and now 16 above, only 12 above. It keeps going down, making me more and more nervous. 34 health, 50 shield, and no extra minis. 13 total shots, total ammunition for his MK7 assault rifle. Has to make those bullets count, Jacob.
This is very, very unfortunate. Last time we see this was in game #1. Flux, I think, when he was sharing a portion of the high ground. He had 2 MK7s, no medium ammo to his name, and he was... I was saying as a joke, he probably should have thrown a mini at a forehead, but that just shows how little ammo he had and how little options here. 6 shots, 1 below the threshold, and that's all he needed. He lands the 20 tag, no ammo left to his name, but he has a full Spider-Man mythic, so something is definitely possible if there's a loot pile around the ground, but that's all he's really going to be looking for at this stage in the game as Kinzo goes down, and that was a part of a duo that shared first place.
Ooh, first place duo going down. And now, I mean, Worldka and Kika, they're going to do what they can here. They have to make a rotate happen, but it's not going to be too easy. Meanwhile, we're seeing the replay here of Slick and Day as Slick quickly secured that elimination, which actually gave him the Spider-Man web shooters I was talking about. We also have Fizzy here, who was a player that was below on Storm Surge, tried to get some damage, but was not successful.
And there's kind of the last one we saw. The very tail end of it. Double Stinger SMG into the box, and it's just very hard, especially when they know you're weak. It's so hard to survive with two players trying to Stinger SMG into your box, and especially if one of them can grab a hold of that build. But J Roses need to always find themselves in a great spot in towards the zone. 3 eliminations are their name right now. Storm Surge is not going to be a worry. As Show actually loses Poppy Blast for a moment, but avenges his elimination as he gets one of his own, and it's actually not going to be elimination. That Show is just down for now, as Poppy Blast is going to have to take him back, but it was Poppy Blast who actually did go down early in the game, so they're trading, taking turns being the hero of the duo.
Being the hero of the duo, seeing what they can do to come out on top. But we have Matt here. We've seen him quite a bit today, but he's playing as a solo now. He is above Storm Surge, but you need to get damage when you can get it, because if you get below Storm Surge and you have to do some quick plays to get that extra damage as a solo, it's very difficult. Putting himself in a high ground position here could be good, but he's not in the zone. Has to use the materials from the duos in front of him so he doesn't get focused off as a solo to make it into zone, but this is not going to be easy.
I like the way he's doing exactly what he said, recycling those builds. He knows he's above the damage threshold, so that's not even on his mind. It's just getting himself a spot comfortable as can be, as Worldka and Kika still on this edge of zone. But Worldka, at least this time, does have some ammo, different weapons he can go ahead and try to utilize here, as they still some damage to go ahead and be above the threshold. So refresh is still a major need for this team, and you can kind of see them resetting builds. They're looking for somebody to catch off guard.
Oh, Kika gonna go down though. Now it's all up to Worldka. I mean, Storm Surge is active. You can see it on the screen. This is just not a position you want to be in. Worldka has about 3-4 seconds to get the damage he needs off. But I mean, yeah, NT, nice try going on to the next one. They were able to make it a lot further than I expected them to with the loot they had. So I mean, I'm impressed overall. But taking a look here at Frat by Nate, who have seemed to, I mean, they've been doing a great job getting to the late games. It's just they need to secure that victory royale or keep getting to the late games and come out in that top 6 spot. But I mean, they're on route to do it.
Yeah, anything short of the victory royale, I feel like right now it's the late game, like you said, making it to it, and then picking up a couple eliminations for that late game. Because I think simply making it there is not going to be enough with how stacked and how hard this lobby is fighting for those qualification spots. Yale, Comfy getting a spot in towards the zone. Not looking too comfortable though, because they're gonna have to share some of those shields to get themselves back up. Some splashes as well. 31st place, 7 points. They're going to need a big game here, mixed with some eliminations. You see some couple players going down in the elimination feed. Again, it's Evo, though. That's a player to watch out for, because he's slowly but surely picking up eliminations to keep his team in contention.
But take a look here. Our second place duo, J Roses and Tutu. But remember, the first place duo has already been eliminated. So if J Roses and Tutu are able to make it far in this late game, they could take that #1 spot. Taking a look at the top-down view, we have a lot of duos stacked down on the southern side of this zone. And it's actually going to pull to a coast. So there's going to be a little bit of water in this first moving zone.
And realistically right now, if you kind of look at it, everybody's jumbled. Nobody really has convincingly and definitively that front side of zone. So everybody's going to have to figure it out. And the players towards the high ground, just looking at everybody across the battlefield, they're going to try to take some shots and then maneuver forward. Players towards the low ground, especially Gosh and Sharp, they probably are the closest towards the front side of zone. They're going to go ahead and take those peppers and try to stay ahead of the zone. So that way, it's not going to be a worry for a lot of these teams that are going to have to go through one another to get to the same spot.
Gosh and Sharp taking the low ground rotate. Meanwhile, all these other duos use their launch pads, use their Spider-Man web shooters, and that's actually a very strong rotate as a majority of the opposing duos looking for tags are looking up. They're not looking straight down, so great rotate there from Sharp. We have Tutu, though, as J Roses has gone down, now playing as a solo, has 370 damage above the Storm Surge, but once more looking for that elimination. He knows the player is knocked down, might just decide to take the loot here and not keep chasing his duo opponent, but no, falls down. He can't find the loot anymore. Jacob has to go down now into the battle. Finally getting eliminated. That was very unfortunate.
Yeah, just a cheeky spot for his teammate to leave the down body. Unable to get the refresh, actually drops into somebody else's lap. He goes for it, gets taken out. Matt, 3 eliminations, trying to go ahead and make way as a solo, currently sitting into 4th place. Last use of the Spider-Man Mythic, trying to go as far as he possibly can. Doesn't get too much out of it, but he definitely has some resources to try to get ahead of zone, but he's going to drop towards the low ground, recycle some of this brick, and then continue to make his way. Evo and Buzzo always finding a way towards the late game to get a share of that high ground, but we're in zone number 7. Some may say that's the perfect time, but the trend of this semifinals, it's a little too early for some.
Nate and Frappi, we've been talking about how consistent they are making it to this late game, but they just have to make it happen one of these matches to get that golden ticket to the finals. Though, take a look at high ground. We have Kytrex here with his duo partner Jartrex with 3 eliminations, looking to make it 4, taking out Buzo, our previous high ground duo.
Yeah, perfect time to strike Jaritos and Kytrex. You talk about 7th zone. It's definitely too early in our semifinals to go for height. I think duos and teams have to start taking note of that, because that has been 3 for 3 games. You take it too early and you get eliminated. Back plan is Gosh trying to think of something here as a solo, bobbing in and out of covers, peeking only when necessary to take the tags without a single build to his name. All he has is 6 minis and a dream to try to stay alive. Players running around, perfect edits. Fade didn't even know he was there as Gosh now tries to run, outlast his opponents, recycle some of these builds, and mat up where he can, because his journey is not over just yet.
71 points for Gosh, currently in the 5th place here. Has 6 mini shields to work with, but not a lot of materials. Meanwhile, Jaritos and Kytrex are on the high ground still. So far, not contested. Looking good for them here. Let's see what Gosh can do, though. 1 elimination right now, 1 for his teammate, and he's playing the low ground as a solo. Just picked up 400 wood and 200 brick. That could have just saved him a lot of placement points.
Every moment from here on out is big. Takata calling it, those resources were a massive boost towards his end game potential. As you see, everybody's just jumbled towards the backside of zone. Gosh doing a good job of staying up front of it and not have to go through that chaos as a solo. And since he's slow down, all that 400 mats, he doesn't have to use too much of it here, and he's going to be able to save it to when these duos really come down to the wire. 8 teams remaining. You see the elimination feed still going off. Frappi is out. Jaritos and Kytrex still holding on to the high ground, but look at their builds. They don't have many to hold on to.
4 eliminations for Jaritos, 51 points, has the 5 chug splashes if it comes to that heal off, but so far it looks like they have this game in the bag if they play their cards right. But be careful, we just saw a player go for that high ground. Meanwhile, they got chopped down. I didn't want to speak too soon, but Creep now and his duo partner want that high ground, but they get chopped right back down to the low ground, get eliminated. Now Dom is the only one left for his duo, trying to secure a bit more placements with that med mist. Meanwhile, the last engagements happen above.
He doesn't have the resources to build up. He has to go around the mountain. He has just enough of the med mist, but no, not able to make it into the zone. That's going to be a denial from Jaritos to take out Dom. Shades, you saw him with the jump pad. He took the high ground away from a duo. A 2v1. Shades on the high ground, forcing the players down low. A bunch of players are going to go down. Jaritos going off. Kytrex versus Shades in a 1v1, and Jaritos is going to come out on top and take the game to advance to our grand finals.
Jaritos did not just take down one or two, but three opponents in the late game. They're finally at the end securing the victory royale, from losing high ground in the last moments to making a comeback, clutching it up, winning their game, and getting that golden ticket straight to the finals. What a match from Kytrex and Haritos.
Yep, from high ground to low ground, doing everything that they need. And you see at the very end here, just enough builds to deny some shots and take the game overall. Haritos, 8 eliminations by himself, Takada. That is how you cement yourself into the finals.
I almost just got left speechless from what we just saw. I almost jinxed it. I mean, they had the high ground, but then right as I said they should have the game in their hand, it got chopped down, but they were still confident. They still pushed through and got that victory royale. What an amazing game. But I want to see our analysts break it down for us.
Thank you so much, Takada and Jacob. And to be honest, there was a moment there where I thought it was going to be over for Kytrex and Harito. To have someone steal hype from you and also to do it as a solo has to be a bit of a morale hit, but that was nothing to them, especially with 8 eliminations coming out of Harito. Panda, they definitely deserve their spot in the finals.
They absolutely do, and here's why. This is a team that is special, right? They know what they need to do. Not necessarily, I would say, they're the best in high pressure situations, but they know what needs to be done, right? However, in this situation, they lost the high ground, they remained calm, and they were able to clutch it out here from the low ground. So a really impressive game here for them, and if anything, they should feel special here, because that was a beautiful VR.
I do want to focus a little bit, though, on the player that tried to and actually successfully stole height. Shades there found out that he didn't really have too much of a heal-off opportunity, so drops down 1v2 Clay. Didn't go to the way of him, but what could have he done differently there to possibly have a bit of an advantage in a 1v2 situation?
Yeah, I think he just dropped down a little bit too quickly and prioritized the wrong targets there, right? We saw the player that got the eliminations in the feed, and he prioritized that one, unfortunately, instead of Kytrex there, who was 1 HP. Had they got them down, they would have a little bit more of an opportunity. But obviously, in that moment, they don't see what we see. They don't know which individual is which. You just have to pick and choose, and at that point, it's a dice roll.
But a second place finish is still incredibly good. Those placement points on top of those eliminations are definitely going to solidify his spot in the top 10. But we're all about the victory royales here, so let's take a quick look at our 3 teams that have found themselves in the winner's seat. And of course, it's Haven, Notch after game number 1, Mojo and Salco in game number 2. And you guys just saw it, usually from high ground, but then having to drop down. Jartrex, as we call Harito, and Kytrex, game number 3 victory royale winners right there. But we still have 2 more games to go here. And it's not just the 2 VR winners that are going to be moving forward. It's also the top 6 teams that you're seeing right here. And what I'm seeing, Frappi and Nate jumping up into 5th place right now, Panda.
Definitely a huge game from them, but I also want to talk about Caleb and Kenzo. They didn't put a single point on in this game, and they were still up at the top of the leaderboard. So, look, they definitely did something right in the first couple games. So, all they have to do is be a little consistent here in the last 2, and they're qualifying. But they need to be on it. They can't just give up now.
Indeed, and again, I want to say a big shout out to Kytrex, who one of the biggest veterans here in the NA West region, even went from playing on different inputs back and forth, really showing up. But look at how close the bottom of this leaderboard is, right? This is all the way down to 20th place. They still all have a shot into getting into that top 6 because of how much points eliminations are worth, as well as that second place.
And I just want to remind everyone what we saw in NA West during day number 1 as well. Favs and Snacky, you know, one of the more recent winners of the FNCS in Chapter 2, didn't have a great performance for the first 4 games. In fact, I think they almost went down around 20th and 30th in every single game. But that final game, the one that matters the most, they grabbed a VR. So although we only showed you 20 teams, literally any of the other bottom teams here, any of the other 47 teams, still have a chance to just grab that VR and move forward. And of course, for me, I'm looking towards Frappe and Nate, an incredible team here. They've already gone a 2nd place and 4th place finish from yesterday. And after today's performance, Panda, they did a pretty good job moving themselves in the top of the leaderboard.
They did, and while you were pretty confident thinking they were going to take this game, they are still being consistent, which is just as important. Because remember, we keep talking about it. You can qualify through victory royales, and you can qualify through consistency. So as long as you remain consistent, remain calm, you got this thing. But for Nate and Frappe, the one thing I think they should really work on here is being a little bit more patient. You see here, every chance they get, they're going for shots in the back of zone. So they need to be a little bit more cautious, especially taking those risks there, because ultimately that's why one of them went down.
I love that you say that. Patience is the name of the game. We saw Harito and Kytrex could have tried to steal height once again, but then instead they said we're going to be patient on the low ground and wait for them to come to us, and that's exactly what got them that VR. But everyone, we just have 2 more games to go here. Game number 4, we're going to have another VR winner move forward to the finals. Jacob, Takata, how are you guys feeling?
Feeling fantastic, but that's me and Takata. We don't have to go through this battlefield, but a fantastic job for our analysts, not only to break down that last game, but really set the tone and the story for game 4 and game number 5. Depending on where you're at in the leaderboard, you have 2 different ways to qualify. If you're at the top half, you can continue to play consistency. There's Caleb and Kinzo that Panda said they didn't score a single point, still sitting in first. But for those teams that might be out of the bubble, maybe top 20 and below, they might have to go for a victory royale.
I mean,
Luckily,
they
we don't
might
have to wait long.
That's what I was gonna say. You heard it. The battle bus is getting ready. Let's get right into it, Jacob.
You see how excited we are to get right into the game, and for some of these teams, they are excited because they're at the top of the leaderboard. Others might be getting a little nervous, might be getting a little desperate as their chances to qualify for the finals are vanishing before their very eyes. 2 more games on the day, a fresh 6 tomorrow, but there's still a chance with 2 teams able to qualify through victory royales.
I mean, you could be a team like Slick and Day who are already in the top 6 threshold. Or you could be a team like Aguilar who was at 14 points. So it's going to be difficult to make it to the top 6, but they can still get that victory royale. If they come out on top here in the early game engagement and they end up winning, that's a ticket straight to the finals. But be careful, as Show is going to annihilate that opportunity right off the start in a quick 1 versus 2 with that MK7.
Yeah, you can see a little bit of a different thought process going down, separate just a little bit, just going to try to land onto the weapons. And instead of just landing together and trying to use a little bit of time, get the floor loot inside of the buildings, they're just going for a straight 50-50 when it comes to those weapons. And I think for the past 2 games, probably Blast and Show have been getting the better of them.
So far, that's what's been happening, but it's still up to who can get that victory royale, because I mean, it could be Blast and Show 4 games, and in the last game Aguilar comes out on top and ends up winning the game. I mean, you never know. But quickly switching over to the Daily Bugle, we do have an engagement here with Ghosty, the same off-spawn engagement that always ends so quickly, but now Jeevan seems to have been boxed up here. He's got 2 opponents getting in, takes down 1. Will he be able to get 2? No. Ghosty finishes it off, is going to be able to pick up his teammate. That was a close one.
Is that 3 out of 4? 3 out of 4 games, Ghosty and Flameback, maybe at least 2 for 2, because I know that last game was chaotic with all 4 players landing on 1 chest on the roof of Daily Bugle, but this time around, Ghosty and Flameback, they have some time. Another early victory towards Daily Bugle. They're going to be able to mat up and begin their journey to try to take the victory royale here, just like Astra Winx and Neon. Towards Rocky Reels, we haven't seen a lot of action go down here on stream at least, but Pollo and Yellow Glow, they're not afraid of any of these battles. They're not afraid, especially being at 16 out of that bubble. Depending on where they're at exactly, they might need some early eliminations.
They might need it. We have Pollo here looking to see if he can get one of those early eliminations, but I mean, they do have the high ground positional advantage, but I'm kind of feeling a little bit of a disengagement from them. Maybe not. Really depends what they want to do here. Do they want to alpha up their drop spot here at Rocky Reels and come out on top, eliminating their opponents, or do they want to be like, okay, we have enough shield, we have a med mist, we got mats, let's just go for the rotate, as they're not currently in zone. But it looks like they want to keep the action going. They want to keep this battle going, and so far, I mean, they've gotten a bit of tags, so it's not looking too bad.
It's not looking too bad at all, but I like how they're not just going all in right now. If they don't know exactly where both of the players are, they know shots are coming in from the outside. And being on that 16th place, they can have that choice. Do you want to go for the victory royale? Do you want to try to go for some consistency? And I think this battle is going to decide it. If they win this one, they can still play for consistency. If they lose, game number 5 is going to come down to a victory royale as the first knock is going to come through. Pollo is going to clean that one up along with Yellow Glow to finish up the refresh, the siphon, get everything that they need, and drop their opponent Astra all by their lonesome. A solo player trying to survive here. And Pollo and Yellow Glow, if they got aggressive after that last one, they're just going to do it again.
They're going to do it again, and they're going to keep it going here as now not only do they have that elimination, they have the player advantage, making sure they're all healed up. They're already going to use the med mist, going to even maybe use a bit more shields, and now it's just the hunt for this solo. But be careful as Glow gets cracked with that first shot from the striker pump shotgun, but manages to come out on top in that engagement. Now in 13th place with those extra 6 points from eliminations, but let's look at some replays, see what else has been happening off spawn.
This is that one we kind of jumped on board. Is that another? Is that a 50?
25?
What is going on over towards Daily Bugle? These guys just are not scared. They're not being intimidated, but this is the one we did see. Different angle. Poppy Blast dropped down to 4 HP, but this is what Aguilar is talking about. Miscommunication is costing them big on these off-spawn fights.
I mean, you can see it. They know that something's wrong here, and now that they've been eliminated in game 4, they just have one more game to make it happen. But look at this. Glow and Pollo, they were feeling so good. They were feeling so confident, but now a third party is coming in, and they said, we already have our Storm Surge tags. We already have materials, loot. We don't want to get into another engagement. Good decision to go for the rotate now that they don't have to focus on that damage, and they just have to focus on their position.
And that's what you want to do, where you just focus on your position. It gives you options to kind of do exactly whatever you want to do. But the team currently sitting in third, Day is going to get dropped. And that's going to be Vibes. Great communication, dropping him over the water so that way he doesn't take any damage. And Day finds a way to get out. Might have used a launch pad there at the final moments to escape this 2v1. But I don't know how long he's going to be able to escape and stay alive, because with those mythic Spider-Man web shooters, they're going to be on his tail.
Look at this. Day's in third place right now, so getting eliminated on this 4th match is gonna make him and Slick play for the qual in their last game, but who knows? They might be able to come out on top. Will he be able to get that 1 versus 2? He's got 2 players on him, but finally is gonna get eliminated, and Slick and Day are out of the match.
Yeah, the common trend from a lot of these fights, whether it's the replays or the ones that are on stream live, is it's a lot of the teams that are 16th, 15th, sort of on that bubble, trying to have a big game here so they can qualify through consistency. But they got to watch out here for Zare and Fade, closer to that bubble than ever before here, getting a victory royale in that first qualifier. So they have the mindset that they can go ahead and qualify through both of these methods, but it's these eliminations that they want to be able to clean up. And already judging with 6 chili splashes, 6 chug splashes, and the resources, they might have found themselves a llama off spawn.
Oh, I mean, their loot is looking good, and now just as Silks and his teammate thought they were safe after securing their elimination on Day, the third party came in from Fade and Zaire, so they have that positional advantage now. They have the high ground, and with all those splashes, with all that loot, they're not too worried about losing shield here in the engagement, so they're looking for tags with that Stinger SMG, maybe even a striker pump shot here and there, and so far, I mean, they're still in the zone, so they're not worrying about too much.
Yeah, the only thing right now, if this battle takes too long, the amount of surge they're going to need overall, but along with the heals, possibly getting both eliminations, it might not be too much of a worry. And I like the way Vibes and Slick here are kind of playing this. They're sticking down low. They're trying to force Zare and Fade into a mistake. That's something we've seen a lot from teams in this position. They get a little impatient. They drop down low, but Zare is just trying to explode that vehicle, cause some fire and some chaos, maybe get some free destruction on the builds. But Slickies and Vibe, they're not biting on any of this bait.
Be careful, though. Only 18 shots for that Stinger SMG. They're gonna need some more small ammunition. It looks like Fade has it though, so as long as they get a quick split, they should be good. What's dangerous about this though is if you look at the zone, they're on the dead side, the least congested side of zone. So after this engagement, they're not gonna have a lot of opportunities to get more tags. So this should be a majority of the damage they need, especially if zone closes more towards the north here. We'll see in 30 seconds how it ends up happening, but so far, I mean, they can play the waiting game or they can try and predict the zone and go straight to the center.
Yeah, you talk about how far everybody else is spread out. The closest teams are around Logjam, Lumberjam. So they're going to have to travel far if they're going to need Surge. That's why this fight is so important. But the longer this fight goes and the damage and the tags trading off and shields being used, they're going to get a good amount of Surge. But it's just a matter of time, and everybody else has an opportunity to rotate in, but they have a ton of time. So I'm talking about it's a matter of time, but they can go ahead, play around with this one. They can continue to hold on to the high ground and break these covers, because what they're doing now is just dwindling down the resources of Vibes and Slicky little by little, which is why it's taken so long.
I mean, it's felt like almost the whole match here, Jacob, in this engagement, and not a single player has gotten to a box, has gotten full pieced. I mean, they're just going back and forth, trying to do a little bit of damage, trying to get a big striker pump shot off to crack their opponent, give them something that's going to allow them to play a bit more aggressive. But now looking, that second zone has appeared and the first one's closed. It's looking pretty far. I don't know exactly where it's closed, but it's definitely not close by.
It is a little too close as we switch angles. You can kind of see the little edge, sliver of it. But about a minute and 20 or so seconds here, it's going to begin to move in, so they have to start figuring out how they're going to close this battle. Fade gets the shield ripped right off, but so does Zaire. They wait for that perfect moment to strike from the low ground to the high ground. They do exactly that. Both of these players' shields are dropped right off, but they use the splashes, the minis, to get that HP and shields right back on up. But Slicky and Vibes, this is where they're going to try to break free, get a couple of those resources that they had to use to turtle down in this cover. But it doesn't look like neither player wants to back off of this fight just yet. It goes to show that these eliminations are so important to these players.
I mean, it looked there for a second
Maybe
like
not.
Zaire was reconstructing tilted towers by the, I mean, height he was going up. But I think they finally decided here that maybe we've taken a long time in this engagement. We got our shots off. We got our damage done. Let's leave it there. We'll continue it later. But looking at another engagement that's happening currently on the map from Buzo and Evol at 66 points, 9th place on the leaderboard. They're in Covert Cavern and they're looking for a little sneaky play. I'm not even sure if the opposing duo knows they're there.
I feel like because Buzzo kind of built and jumped over there, they might know now, if anything, but it does look like everybody's just playing careful, playing sneaky. And this is another spot in zone, and with nobody around Covert Canyon, or at least for now, it's going to be on the far side of that exact POI. They could take some time to try to fight this one, especially being down on the damage for the Storm Surge threshold. They might be looking to get a little bit aggressive, but Evo sneakily waiting in the wings to strike, and this has been his thing multiple times in today alone, waiting for that perfect opportunity. But now he's going to build, take back the high ground, and continue to hold that presence. Even though he doesn't have a ton of ammo to continue to put down that pressure, him having the high ground and own is pressure enough.
I mean, you can see Evo playing like he was an eagle, waiting for that perfect moment to strike. Already 170 above the Storm Surge threshold. We can also see J Roses, who on the contrary is below Storm Surge, although they do have those Spider-Man web shooters, but they also have teams looking at them, trying to get those tags. So, I mean, J Roses and Tutu, they're going to have to do a bit of damage here.
Which is surprisingly enough, because when I was watching the qualifiers, I was seeing a little bit more aggression. I was seeing a little bit more trying to take the game in your own hands, and they're doing that, but they're just taking a few more mistakes this time around, traveling a little too early to try to get in towards the zone. Gets chipped down. Luckily, though, they're going to be 11 above the threshold. It's not anything that you kind of feel safe, you don't feel comfortable, but you feel just enough to go ahead and pop the shield and get the information that you're looking for. As J Rose is trying to make a rotation, they know the spot is contested. Staying here could mean your lives. An elimination on hands as the target is J Roses yet again, as him and E22 are just trying to get out. They're just trying to stay alive in 5th place.
I mean, you know, when a player is using their Spider-Man web shooters in second zone, It's because something urgent is happening. And right now, that urgency is having to do damage. They are not close to a lot of duos. They're getting picked off from a far range, and they have to get that damage done before it's too late. 76 players alive. 6 players need to be eliminated to stop that Storm Surge. And ZR knows exactly that as he's looking to get an elimination here, but there's so much pressure being applied from the teams on the outskirts. Great use of the reinforced wall, but it's not enough as CZR and Javier are gonna go down.
Yeah, they just became a product of what happens when you start the fight with too many teams around you. They want a piece of that action. They want some of that pie, and they start to put down their own shots. And you saw even Caleb and Kenzo trying from the high ground, sitting in first place to go ahead and disrupt it. But Chicken, 237 below the threshold. He has some splashes. He has some peppers. He even has a med kit, but I don't think he has time to pop the med kit. You might know more than I do if he's going to be able to pop that one off. We'll probably check back in with him later. But J Rose's E22 first down is going to come in. Back-to-back shots being fired off. The team that needs the surge, the team that needs to start figuring out how they're going to qualify, pick up a great elimination and move up to second place.
Wow, I just want to point out, they did not just get their Storm Surge, they just recuperated all of their uses on their Spider-Man web shooters because the duo they just eliminated had double Spider-Man. So it's like they never got into a problem here. Refresh their materials, back up to 6 minis, back up to 9 to 10 shots on each Spider-Man web shooters. Now, their only problem is their edge zone. You can see at the right, it's starting to close and they're not in it. So they're going to have to make a rotate, probably use a bit more shots on those Spider-Man web shooters, and then if they manage to make it into zone, I mean, that was a good comeback.
Yeah, J-Rose is going to lead the way just a little bit. Everybody's stuck on this side. Is going to have to figure out where the rotation is going to come in. First place, we talked about Caleb and Kenzo. Not scoring a single point last game, but they've dominated the first 2 and put themselves in such a commanding position. It didn't really matter, but they cannot have another game like that. They got to start scoring points and get on that rhythm. Sitting in first place, there's going to be a lot of teams waiting in the wings to chop you down, but E22 and J Roses trying to make it ahead of the storm, reuse the jump pad to try to get themselves in. And you talk about you want to hold on to those web slingers as long as possible, and I like the way he has the med kit, so that health and HP is not too much of a worry for me.
Oh, I mean, they've done it, right? Made a good use of that launch pad, but oof, okay, I'm gonna be careful with my words there. It's 2-2 almost just got eliminated, well, knocked down, better said. But I want to bring up that Frappi and Nate are doing a great job of playing a split drop. They're not doing a very contested drop like Daily Bugle or Tilted Towers. They're doing a split drop, and because of that, their main issue is finding Storm Surge, but they're in a great position to see, I mean, you can see right now, find angles on duos that are not in a great position, rotating in late and just getting those tiny tags from afar with their MK7, with their medium ammunition, and just making sure they can consistently get to that late game and rack up as many placement points as possible to end in that top 6 spot. And seeing that they're in 7th right now, I mean, they're just on the cutoff.
Yeah, I like Frappi here. Anybody is a target, not just the players that are struggling in towards zone, trying to stay alive. Even the aggressors that are over peak and trying to take shots. Frappi is going to take any opportunity. Nate as well, as you see Rush trying to revive his fallen foe. GG's as he gets the revive off. Has some floppers, plenty of heals to go around. Plenty of shields as well, but the spot that they're in is the only thing that worries me here. So many teams around them. They have the vending machine as well if they have some gold to go ahead and try to use, but it's getting in towards zone is the worry to me. Not so much the heals or the resources, as so many teams are around them that can easily turn around. And we've seen it happen to so many duos already today alone, as another team just wandering around above them. And this is where, once in 20 seconds, the zone begins to move, teams are going to look back, as now they're going to be the only team left back there.
Oof, Rush and G's making good use of the gold bars, but now, just like you said, they've got to figure out how to rotate. Look at this. They're going to use a vehicle to get this rotation done, but be careful. If that vehicle ends up exploding right where they want to be positioned, it's going to be very difficult to start building and not get focused. So hopefully they can do a nice dead side rotate in the zone with that vehicle and make it happen. But taking a look at 2-2 here in J Roses, using the Spider-Man web shooters, quick one shot into zone, playing it safe, and now picking and choosing the correct option.
Yeah, just a few steps out of zone. They're doing the best they can to get in, but Now the lobby is spotting him out, forcing the armored wall to stay alive and alleviate some of that pressure that's being put on him. They know a team is going to be above them, spotting him out through the cone. Kaz and Turtle are still alive. I saw them pick up elimination in the feed. Ghosty going ahead from Daily. Bugle, his journey continuing as Tavern and Kaz finally above the threshold here, trying to stay alive. But they too, you said it, the top side of the match, so many duo teams that land there struggle for Surge.
Ooh, I mean, you can see it too. 4 above for G's and his duo Rush. They are not in a good position, especially seeing that they're in their corner of the zone here. So they have to do whatever they can, but I can see they still have their vehicle inside of the builds. But I mean, if you want to try and use a vehicle now, it's quite a risky play. It is possible, but it's risky. Their priority is going to be Storm Surge. It's going to be doing damage, and that's exactly what they're doing slowly but surely, seeing that the 12 above now. However, on the contrary, Zaire, on the right side is 16 below, so he's gonna have to do some damage quickly because he's running out of minis, although he does have a good amount of splashes.
And 13 above, 16 below, that's almost nothing. Look at that. They just get sneezed on. 6 below the threshold. And now you see they're trying to make way. Caleb and Kinzo are up there. They're panicking. They're trying to look for a team to go ahead and make a target, but Storm Surge is just taking them down. They're panicking. GGEs are going to go down. He's going to fall. Rush just rebooted him back into the action. Luckily for him, he's going to pick up the med kit, pick up the web slingers, so he's going to have some resources to use to try to make his own journey as a solo to the end of the game. But 16 above still on the right side, 16 below. Damage of the Storm Surge is really taking teams apart, and that's where in that final game, if they survive this one, they're gonna have to figure out a way to get Surge early.
I mean, this is a very important game for Rush and also Zaire, who is in 9th place right now. So if they can secure just a bit more points, that's going to put them closer and closer to that top 6 qualifying threshold, which takes you straight to the finals here. So they want to do as best as they can in this match, making use of those chili chug splashes, looking for angles on some opponents there. His Fade is going to get a knock, but he wants more, wants to take out his duo partner as well, trying to find the angle, but doesn't have that many materials. I take that back. Look at that, almost full materials, Jacob, but they have to get the zone now.
Yeah, Refresh looking good at the right time, but both of them are taking damage from the Storm, getting denied entry inside of the circle as its team's not wanting to give him that space there. He's going through that struggle himself, trying to survive with the med miss. Last mini being used on Fade, so all of their heals and resources out the window, and they have Turtle, Tavern, and Kaz that know they're there, know that they're trying to live on a prayer. So as soon as this zone begins to move, they know that is a possible refresh toward the backside. They put a steel wall above them because they know that threat is looming around every corner.
Threat is looming, and they don't want any risk, seeing that they're so close. But taking a look at the team that's already in that threshold, J Roses and Tutu still has 4 shots on the Spider-Man's web shooters. A good amount of materials to get the rotate on. Tutu dropping right beside J Roses here, staying compact, staying close. You can tell they've got good synergy, they've got good communication, and they can make it happen here in this game, seeing that they're already 2nd place.
218 below the threshold. Right now, they're just trying to make it in front of zone, get themselves a spot, and then try to look for that damage as they're breaking into a box. Air gets chopped down. Poppy Blast gonna get credit for at least one of those eliminations, but the high ground take here on 6th zone might be a little too early for some as you're dwindling down the resources. You see exactly what happens, Takata. You take it too early, you lose all your resources, then you're stuck looking for a refresh.
Look at the elevation change as well on this zone. It's a mountain zone, but look at Monkey going straight into the box, trying to secure that elimination. They actually get it. Now Yuki with 3 eliminations, Monkey with 2. They've got 66 points, and look at this zone. All these players have to rotate back up just after going down. It is an incredibly difficult zone to do correctly, but if you're a player like Nate, you have that Spider-Man's web shooter. You have that ability to make it an easier rotate, and Nate did it perfectly. Now in zone with 370 wood.
Only 105 effective HP and shields. trying to survive. Monkey and Yuki, you saw them at one point or another. They weren't the healthiest when it came to resources. So a single launch pad and a duo being prepared to try to steal that one away. Jay Rose is one of these solo players, many solo players left in this game trying to stay alive. Luckily for him, he doesn't have to peek and take shots. He's going to be 301 above the threshold, but there's still so many teams around him. Regardless if he wants to take the shots, he might have to defend himself here as Shallow and Biz trying to look and take a piece of that high ground. And that's exactly why I say you take it too early, you lose your resources, and then you put yourself into a hole.
7th moving zone currently. Biz and Shallow have the high ground, but J-Rose he's still going. He's still surviving. 100 points now he's gotten for him and his duo. Meanwhile, we have Poppy Blast with his duo Show. They seem to be tanking a bit of Storm here, playing more on the lower end of the zone, close to the low ground, trying to find a solo or any players that they can catch off guard to secure a little bit more of those elimination points because they do not have any materials.
Yep, you see Trey, Kiowa, one of those top side of the map duos, 3rd place. They have a great plan, not having to worry about Surge as they are just going and moving in a great layer, separating themselves from the rest of the teams. You see low ground, Show and Poppy Blast from a great early game fight. They're making it last towards the end game. Shallow and Biz putting that pressure on the Beast and Remy, denying them an opportunity to retake the high ground. But they have to be careful because this is that moment in time, usually in every single game, where they don't watch out towards the high ground. A team steal is away. Poppy Blast goes down. So does Show. That's Slicksy's picking up both.
Slicksy getting a nice 2-piece, but now Sharp also going down, leaving Gosh alone as he also gets eliminated there. Shallow and Biz, they still have the high ground. They're looking great in this zone. 6 duos alive. That's 10 players. What is going to happen here in the next few moments? We have Shallow trying to Spider-Man web shoot up a bit of materials, a bit of loot, anything that can help them secure this victory royale. Meanwhile, we have Uwa, we have Bumboy. These players, which had a difficult run in our previous matches, now in a top 5 situation where they could take the victory royale.
8 eliminations so far here, floating down towards the low ground. Not many mats to use. They're trying to refresh as many as humanly possible here as they make their way towards the end zone. Shooting at some builds in front of them, making that path that much easier. Shallow and Biz continuing to hold on to the high ground. Pump is in the mix as well, sitting, I do believe, towards the top side of the leaderboard in the early portions of our games. This one is down to 4 total teams. One of them is going to be a solo, and that is going to be Pump.
Oh, Pump just
anymore.
Getting eliminated there. Not anymore, like Jacob said. We still have Biz, Shallow on the high ground, applying pressure. And Bumboy managed to knock down another opponent. That's 1 more solo now, Jacob.
Yeah, keep them alive. Save that siphon. Save the refresh as long as possible. But you probably needed those mats. Mat might be the time to pick them up. 2v1, just like last game. Deja vu, an opportunity for the solo player to strike as the players are going at it here. Uwa and Bumboy doing their best. Steel wall to go ahead and hold down some of that pressure and make it a little bit easier for them to survive. But Shades takes the high ground. I don't know how. I think it's Shades again. His 2nd chance at life. 2v1 situation here. Can Shades take the game? It's Uwa. It's Bumboy towards the low ground. They have men miss. They have some minis. And they have no resources, though, at least on the side of Bumboy. So it's going to be up to Uwa to place the perfect build. Shades going to delete that one. It looks like they ran out altogether. Med miss is going to go off. Shades tries to drop, and he gets taken down. Bumboy and Uwa qualify for the finals.
Great attempt from Shades there as a solo, dropping down, looking for those eliminations, but Bumboy already had the med mist, already had the heal off. His duo partner was ready for the action, securing that last elimination, and it worked out for them as they got the victory royale.
Sometimes it's not how you start, it's how you finish. It doesn't matter if you stumble. It doesn't matter if you trip and fall, because if you get that victory royale, no one would have noticed. As Bumboy and G5 RC, they make it towards the end, but Shades, I think that's been the story, because even though he doesn't get the victory royale in 2 different opportunities, he's boosting his team up that leaderboard, and I do believe they got themselves into a top 10 position.
I mean, they made it happening, from Bumboy having to reboot his duo partner 2 times in a previous match, to staying well, to keeping that motivation going and getting that victory royale now, not letting the previous matches affect him or his duo. They are going to take this game, but let's throw it to the analyst desk and let them break it down for us.
We were just talking about it during our last desk segment that someone like Favs and Snacky who had a poor performance for the first 4 games, and then once they grabbed that VR, it doesn't matter how well they did because that's how the semifinals format is run here. It kind of rewards both players, those players that are hot and cold and the players that are going for consistency. But my goodness, Panda, what an incredible run from Bumboy and UA there on the low ground. Once again, we have another low ground success.
Absolutely. Look, it's showing that high ground isn't necessarily everything here, especially for G5RC and Bumboy. This is a duo that we've seen time and time again here on the West Coast, and it really showcases that they know what to do with the low ground. We've seen them time and time again on the low ground. It's actually kind of surprising. Clay, you know more about this team, though, than I do.
Yeah, Bumboy has been playing in West for as long as I can remember. I mean, it goes back to the very first FNCS. He took a break for a while there and then came back and has been really strong ever since there. And then, of course, pairing with G5RC, who has been really great with him to kind of hold him back from being a little bit too aggressive, because Bumboy back in the day used to be, I'm W-king everybody I see. And now you see a little bit more patience there on Bumboy's side, so it's a really great pairing overall.
And real quick, I do want to touch on something that I saw that team, Bumboy's team, do, where they were able to drop an enemy and actually throw them ahead of them, carry them into the zone. So, Panda, tell me a little bit about this and why that was advantageous for them.
Absolutely. So the big thing there in that moment was getting the material from that knock into zone. That's going to be the priority. No matter what, you want to make sure that you have the fruit of your work, right? So being able to get that knock is great. Being able to get the material is even more important, especially in the final moments of that game.
And that is exactly what we saw that come into fruition. 100% worked out for them. And it's those small nuances that really separate the mid ground from the high ground of players. But of course, we have to look at our VR winners, everyone. These are the 4 teams that have found themselves in our first place spots, and which means that they are moving on to the finals next week. Bumboy and G5RC are going to be joining Harito and Kytrex, Mojo and Salco, and Hav and Notch. But as you can see, there's a blank slate there. There's still one more team that can grab that VR. Maybe it's going to be one of the teams that we see here, Clay.
It may be. Look at the spread, though. It's still anyone's game. Even though first place has 111 points, it's still easily overtakeable by all the way down into 10th, even more than likely all the way down into 11th. Josh and Sharp made their way up into 4th. We've got Flameback and Ghosty now in 6th. Rapé and Nate right on the bubble in 7th. They've got a really big game here, Panda. Otherwise, they're out.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a make or break moment. Like we've talked about in the past, the top 6 are going to qualify through consistency. But if you're not in that top 6, your sole focus is the victory royale. You only have 2 options with 1 game remaining. Obviously, for these teams that are up here in the top 10, they have a lot better shot there through consistency. But if you find yourself lower, I would say lower than 15, right? Maybe 15th has a shot, but 15th down, you need to think about that VR and that VR alone.
Well, let's look at it right now. To get into 6th place, I believe, is around 84 points, or maybe a little bit more than that, 89 points. So to look down right here, to see that even players all the way in 20th place are only a 20-point difference from there, it still could be anyone's game. And that's not even including the fact that a VR could just grab them their ticket into the finals. So still a lot of opportunity here. And speaking of opportunity, we still have a whole more day of semifinals, which is going to be starting tomorrow. Just like today, we're going to be having 11 new teams that were lower down in the series points out of the qualifiers. They're going to be joining us tomorrow, and it's actually going to be a little different where we have 6 games played tomorrow instead of the 5. But everyone, 5 games. It's now the time for that 5th game to be played, the final game of the day. So with that being said, Jacob and Takata, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Kelly, Panda, Clay, for doing an amazing job as always on the desk. But Jacob, we're getting into our last game. We've seen an amazing 4 games, but I mean, this is it. This is when we'll know which are the 6 duos that are gonna qualify through the consistency leaderboard and which are the 5 duos that secured that victory royale.
Yeah, just like everybody's really talking about one team, no matter where they're on the leaderboard, is going to get that finals ticket if they get this victory royale. Everybody else is going to have to fight tooth and nail. And for the team that's sitting in first place, Trays and Kyo, they're doing a fantastic job. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of the teams on the north portion of the map are struggling to get that surge as the battle bus is ready. Let's see who's going to struggle as game number 5 starts right now.
4 games down, just 1 more to go. We've seen action in Chonkers, in Daily Bugle, in Tilted Towers, all over the map, and it's all coming down to this, the last match, Jacob, and we're starting it off strong in the Daily Bugle.
16 teams here fighting for a spot or within contention. 6 of those are in that side of that bubble. 10 of those are on the outside, and just like Kelly said, 20 points is what separates them. And with the final game on the line, they go for a 50-50 yet again. Takada, if that ain't bravery, I don't know what is.
They are not stopping. They won that 50-50, and I mean, I'm impressed. They've done it every single game, even to the last one, the most important, the last match. But look at this. There's not just 2 duos here, Jacob. There's 3 duos. The 50-50 ended with a sniper rifle from the chest spawn. But now, I mean, not a single elimination has been made.
Is there an additional team in here as well? Because before it was a lot of 2 teams landing around. I think I see a 3rd team in the mix.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens when you leave it up to a victory royale situation. As Complop, Aguilar switching up their strategy just a little bit. Instead of that split drop on this position, they land together. The ammunition is there. The shots are firing off, but it's showing Poppy Blast, who's seemingly winning this exchange. Complop trying to pop the guzzle juice. Does he have time to get a max HP off of it? As Aguilar, he's going to be a distraction. It doesn't get the knock just yet as Poppy Blast, living on a player, drops down to reunite with Show. Neither team wanting to give this fight up just yet. They know how weak their opposition is, and Aguilar finds the angle, gets the down on the Show. Poppy Blast is being backed down, and you got to know his teammate is there. Complomp tries to reunite with Aguilar, take this 2v1, and they actually nail the victory. The elimination is in. I think you are the prophecy we were looking for, Takada, because you said it. Poppy Blast and Show, they might win 2 in a row, but all it takes is that 5th and final game for Aguilar and Complomp to come out on top.
I mean, look, they got the first part down, Jacob, but now it's the hardest part. They want to secure the victory royale. Due to getting eliminated in the early game, they haven't been able to rack up as many points as some of the other teams, so they really need that victory royale. But seeing that they've came out on top in that off-spawn engagement, I mean, I'm feeling something, Jacob. I'm feeling something.
Yeah, and just take note. Ghosty and Flameback, they were winning a lot, and they would kind of loot it up, and they would put themselves in a good spot to get resources and everything to put themselves in a great position, as Matt and Nav are not in the best spot here towards Greasy Grove. Finally, some contention onto Chicken. And I do believe they're going to get a share of that high ground, getting piece by piece. Gets the cone as well, locks him in, but Nav oversteps his boundaries. Matt's not there to save the day, but finally comes in with the halo and the wings to make sure his teammate stays alive. This battle will continue with a fight for the high ground. Kaizen, he's taking shots, but a sneaky blow onto Matt is going to take him down, leave Nav all by himself.
Nav now playing as a solo here, doesn't have that player advantage, but gonna go for the engagement directly into the box. They're unable to get in though. Now it's all about the angles game. How is Nav gonna come out on top when he doesn't have an advantage? He's actually at a disadvantage here, so he's gonna decide to drop down, maybe look for a different angle, maybe even try to escape here, but it's not looking good. Goes down to 8 shields, gonna have to pop 2 minis, but will he have time?
I want to say he would have time because there's a whole game left, but I know that's not exactly what you mean, because his 2 players just taken down option by option. He's scrambling around, just trying to stay alive, refresh as many of the resources as possible. You know this is going to be prolonged. Takes down 1. Chicken gets the kill elimination, though, at the right time to save the day.
got that knockdown, but wasn't enough to get the second knock, which would have secured the 2 eliminations. Great attempt there as a solo, but unfortunately did not come out on top. Taking a look, though, at J Rosers and 2-2. They're at 104 points. They're relaxed, but let's look at some replays because, I mean, right now, J Roses, they've just got to farm up and they've got to get to that late game. But here we've got Aguilar. I mean, Jacob, you saw what happened here.
Hey, when he says the only thing they're lacking is communication, and it's time to flip that switch in game number 5, you tighten up. You see from frowns to smiles. Aguilar knows, though, this is not over just yet. You survived the off-spawn drop, but there's plenty more to go. A mountain to climb, some might call, is they're one of those teams that need a victory royale. You're not going to go ahead and qualify through consistency.
Taking a look here at Moddings and his duo partner who are running Spider-Man's 31 points in 29th place. It's kind of similar to what's happening to Aguilar here, where it's going to be difficult for them to get enough points to get into that top 6. But if they secure the victory royale, that's a direct qual to the finals, Jacob. So there's no giving up here. You got to give it your all in every single match.
Ooh, see that? Projected points to qualify through consistency is 109. Going into this game, Takada, there's been one team over that 109 threshold. That's first place. That's Trey and Kiowa, who are looking to punch their ticket into the finals. And that stat has been spot on almost all qualifier long.
I mean, Kelly was talking about it on the desk. Even 11th through 13th place, they're just a little bit of points off that top 6. Everybody is so close on the leaderboard going into this last match that it's really difficult to know who's going to make it.
Yeah, 9 points. That's what you're talking about. Not even a full 10. As you see how that off-spawn one did end. He got that quick down on the Kaizen. Unfortunately, unable to get them both. Moddings and Tyler. They had some eliminations when we jumped on board. This is exactly how they did it. And Crimson and Flux. Oof, for them, it's got to be hurt just a little bit. And I go back to what Clay said. You might have 16 different opportunities throughout the weekend to qualify. But you don't qualify on day number 1. You might be feeling good going into day number 2. If you don't qualify on day number 2, you might begin to doubt yourself because it's not possible with so many players still qualifying themselves, drop spots being open, so many things changing. You may begin to doubt how much you could achieve, but we've seen it firsthand, Takada. Anything is possible.
Anything is possible in Fortnite. That's what I love so much about these competitions. And I mean, taking a look here at Ghosty, Flameback, they're feeling pretty happy here with 89 points, but be careful. That's literally number 6. That's the cutoff to qualify, Jacob. So they're feeling happy, but at the same time, they're feeling stressed out. They know they have to get to the late game here, and they have to do a decent job.
Yeah, and for Fratby and Nate, you don't want to be that tiebreaker team. Because even though I do believe they're tied with points, depending on who wins that tiebreaker, it might not be them. And we've already seen it from Tiny and Fruit in one of the qualifiers, so history does tend to repeat itself as Beast and Remy trying to break in through a box on Greasy Grove. Multiple teams making their way in. They hear their shots, and to them, that's like a horn saying, hey, park your ship here. The boat and dock is ready.
Oh, it's ready, and Beast is also looking ready for an angle there as he's scouting through the cone, trying to see if he can find a shot onto his opponent. They're gonna edit out now. See that his teammate is gotten into a box with Chicken here, looking very dangerous. Manages to help him out, but be careful. The opponent's duo is also there, gonna knock down his teammate Remy, now at 10 health to work with, Jacob. This is not looking good for Beast.
Yeah, that was a big shot on the Beast, and he's barely staying alive. Quick edits to do so, as he's now trying to take the high ground, as the duo below him is just trying to drop him down. There's still so many teams in the mix that could threaten this exchange. Even if Beast survives for now, he finally does get dropped out, but there goes the other teams I was talking about. As soon as he gets the elimination in the Siphon, Kaizen gets dropped to Fruit, and it actually does look like they're going to get aggressive. Look at the mini-map, Takada.
Oh my gosh, it looks like they're coming closer and closer. They want to secure that finish. Chicken now is put into a scary situation, and he's going to be put in a disadvantage 1 versus 2. Teammate gets finished here. Now Chicken, although he does have 3 eliminations, he's going to have to get another 2 if he wants to come out of this situation on top.
Yeah, we've seen him be your hero once today to save it in a 2v1 situation. Tiny and Fruit picking up their spoils of war, max mats of everything that they need. Only one big pot. Still room for more, but they're just going to go and get that elimination back right on out. They know other teams are there. They're going to disrupt this fight. So it's no use for them to go and hunt down Chicken, because the later on in the game that you go, the opportunity will present itself in terms of eliminations.
Taking a look here, that Tiny and Fruit are going to decide to get into a vehicle here and get out of Greasy Grove, or maybe just get a little further away from the engagements happening there by Chicken and his opponents. And look at that, they're actually going to find a nice vehicle. Going to go a little quicker than their previous one, but so far, I mean, we've had some pretty stressful engagements.
Yeah, a lot of these teams are feeling the stress. A team that's not, though, Caleb and Kinzo, 107, sitting in second place. Does have that sniper. I haven't seen it utilized too much. Maybe about, like, I can count on my hand the amount of shots were hit on screen throughout these qualifiers. So it's definitely, even though I'm talking about it's not being utilized to perfection, with that said, it can also, because it's not utilized, catch a player off guard that overpeaks.
Yeah, currently making use of that legendary Hunter bolt-action sniper rifle, but, I mean, Caleb, if he manages to get a nice shot off, it could be a lot of damage, but the reason we're not seeing so many players run these sniper rifles is just due to the items available to them in this game. With the Spider-Man Reb shooters, which is very good for mobility, to the Med Mist that you can use to stay alive in the zone in those moving circles, to the peppers that we see Slick using. It's kind of difficult to mix in a sniper to the loadout.
Yeah. And it's not even that, it's just more utility to go around, you know what I mean? So if a sniper is very, very effective. Like I said, if you catch somebody off guard, it's just there's so many better options, from the Stinger SMG, extra heals. You kind of laid out, you know, when it comes to the peppers. So if you don't have anything, I could see you picking it up, trying to rain. Oh, I told you, there's gonna be somebody that gets caught off guard, and it's Slick. Anybody else in the lobby have saw that, they would have definitely be trying to clean up that elimination, regardless if it's theirs or not. Whew.
And look at that. They're not done just with the knock. They want to get the full elimination there, as Day is now put into a very sticky situation, as he's got duos from afar applying pressure. Meanwhile, the duo that took down Slick is in his box, trying to get in, trying to box him up, trying to finish him off. And there it is. Day gets knocked down, trying to get down one, gets the knock, but it's not going to be enough, as that knock did have a teammate. And now Day and Slick, one of our duos that were close to that cutoff, have been knocked out of game 5.
Just trying to see where exactly they... Ooh, I think they're sitting in 11th place or so going into this game. So yeah, one of those teams, they're going to have to go again into semifinal day number 3 tomorrow. But for the rest of the teams, your chance to live on this prayer is definitely still alive. First place putting down those shots. Flameback and Ghosty sitting on the bubble, currently in 6th. Shades and Clucks, they always find themselves towards the end game. I do believe they land outside towards those ruins southeast of the Daily Bugle. So they have a lot of opportunity to get the tags. But this time around, they had a whole different game plan. They didn't get the off-spawn fight that they want. They were forced out of the Daily Bugle early. So now they're forced to adapt outside of their normal game plan.
Outside of their game plan, and that's always a scary situation when you're in the semifinals, because although there's some players that won't make it today, a reminder, there's still day 3 of the semifinals. 11 players, or 11 duos, will qualify today. 5 through the Victory Royale, 6 through the consistency leaderboard, and then 11 more duos will join the lobby tomorrow to compete on the last day, day 3 of the semifinals. Taking a look though at Shades here, 30 below with Clucks. They actually did a drop outside the Daily Bugle, close by, and now in this last game landed in the Daily Bugle, which is why there was 3 duos there at the start of the match.
Yeah, forced to use their heals to try to out-heal the damage of Storm Surge. Mini shields being dwindled down, and this is where a lot of the times I see a lot of teams trying to do this. You can correct me if I'm wrong. They waste all the heals, they waste all the resources. They still find themselves below the threshold and forced to go in regardless. And this is just another example, putting down some steel walls, because everybody in the lobby knows they're taking that damage. But 3 more players need to go down. They're sharing the last bit of their minis. They have a guzzle juice, which isn't going to do too much in the long run. And that's what I'm talking about. Now they're going to be forced to get aggressive here, as nobody's fallen just yet. Ghosty and Flame Flameback, another team that is barely above the threshold, knows that they're there. Shades is going to go down. Clux, 23 HP. One more tick of the surge, and he is going to drop. Out he goes. Jump pad, spoils of war, and you see it. Everybody's just making a mad dash trying to collect it.
And look at that, Ghosty and Flameback, the opposing team there from the early game, now making another come up here in the mid game, knocking out those two players. Third zone, 53 seconds until it closes, and they're just on the edge, but they're not in yet.
Not just yet. They do have some heals, not the best in the world, but sometimes all you need is that opportunity and chance. And it's kind of what you do from there, but the audio cues has to give away the position of Ghosty in Flameback to that nearby duo. And depending on the audio visuals, which I do believe was Defiable who kind of noted that one out, they could probably hear each other, and that's why you see the duo towards the backside not taking too many steps.
Taking a look here at J Rose at the bottom right, getting those tags onto the opponents in engagements already. A great safe way to do it. When you're not close in the action, taking shots from afar, you don't really put yourself in too much of a risky situation, especially if the opponents you're looking at are already in engagement. It's very unlikely that they'll stop that engagement and look at you. So J Rose's 2-2 doing a great job of securing damage. They do have 0 eliminations, so Storm Surge might tick pretty hard for them. They have to get a rotate in now, though, that the 4th zone has appeared and they are not in it.
Yeah, Worldka and Kika take down Fizzy for now. Does look like a revive is going to be attempted. As I like this. J Roses, they're not getting aggressive. They're not trying to catch this duo off guard. They're just gathering that information, trying to figure out where they're pushing to come in. Frappi and Nate, though, they're under siege. Frappi's going to drop yet again and leave Nate by himself as a solo to play the rest of this game out with more than half of the duo still remaining. And you take a look, he's in 5th place, right on the bubble. So everything is in Nate's hands to end this game.
Oh, I mean, this is not a position I'd like to be in here. Nate is currently in 5th place, barely in the cutoff of the consistency qualifications, but he still can do it as a solo. He's lost his duo partner, but he does have the Spider-Man web shooters, has minis, has bigs, has almost max materials, so he can still make it happen if he plays it right.
I'm really intrigued to know if he's going to survive whatever he's attempting on the other side, just like Flameback and Ghosty trying to survive 2 duos, putting him into the sandwich here. Flameback's gonna go down. Ghosty is trying to revive his teammate, but he's under siege. Shots coming down from below. He's gonna survive for now. Now he's gonna attempt the revive, but you see Crimson, you see Bloods trying to break through the covers. Can he get it off? Just a few seconds remain, and this revive could be the difference between them coming in 7th place and making it into the bubble.
Quickly getting that revive done safely, but be careful as there's another 2 duos under them going into an engagement, and there it is. Rush getting cracked by Ghosty there, losing all of his shield, forcing him to pop some mini shields. Meanwhile, Rush, his teammate, is also in an engagement, tried to pick up as much loot as he could and get out of there safely, which he actually managed doing. So now Ghosty, Flameback, they've got to make their choice. Do they drop down? Because it's a dangerous place to be in, as Flameback almost gets knocked down again, and now they're put in a scary situation, Jacob.
Scary situation indeed. And I was gonna say that Flameback went down there even though he had the Spider-Man mythic, so I was thinking maybe a little bit of a brain fart. Glad to stay alive at the end of the day. Might forget the tools that you have to go ahead and make a recipe for success happen. J Rose is an E2-2, just trying to stay alive. They're backing up as much as possible, but that's Trey and Kayuko trying to go ahead and break through those covers, and they're already sitting in 1st place. They almost have their qualification down packed, and they're not wanting to let E2-2 go for free, but somehow, some way, he had an escape plan in mind, and he made it work.
He made it happen. Also, a quick note, the projection here for the cutoff of the top 6 threshold is 109 points. So, I mean, J Roses right now on the left side, he's there, literally. He's pretty much just right there. Maybe 1-2 more points to get that assured, feel a little safer. But Ghosty, on the other hand, he's a few points off. So he's going to have to do the same as Nate here and make a solo clutch happen.
He's literally on the bubble. He is literally on that bubble, sitting in 6th place. J Roses and E2-2 sitting in 2nd place, 109. for them, I feel like they're playing a mixture of both. They're trying to go for that victory royale, but since they're so high above the leaderboard, it's going to be a win-win scenario. You play for the victory royale, you don't get it, you're going to get a bunch of placement points. Depending on if those eliminations present themselves, you're going to collect those as well. So they're cementing themselves for a no-lose situation if they can make it that far. Talk about a no-lose situation. Ghosty is almost an all-lose situation. No heals, no shields. He literally needs a miracle to stay alive and take this victory royale.
What he does have, though, is that mythic Spider-Man's web shooters. 50 builds. I mean, Jacob, it's possible, but it's not going to be easy.
It's definitely not going to be easy. At least it's something. You know, it could definitely be worse. It could be like Flux in that past game with no ammunition. It could be like a couple of end games that we've seen with no resources or builds. So for him, it definitely could get worse, and that's the attitude you kind of got to look at it, especially with the amount of practice and hours these players put into Fortnite. This cannot be the first time he's been in this situation before.
And we've got the two perspectives. We've got the two solos that have to clutch it out. Ghosty on the left side, Nate on the right. Both of them with Spider-Man web shooters with materials, but only one of them has shield, and that's Nate. So let's see if they can make it happen here as the zone is just starting to move and the rotates are beginning.
Oh. Nate escapes, not building too much at the start. He's getting himself a spot in towards the zone. He knows it's not going to come easy. Just a few charges left on the Spider-Man Mythic. Ghosty, on the other hand, not having the same route of success. He's still traveling through multiple players, trying to stay alive. Finally, the Mythic Spider-Man web sleepers come out, but he gets shot. More HP gets taken off, and now he's dropped down to 22.
Still in the top 6th place here, but it's gonna change quickly as the placement points start rolling in, Jacob. Nate, though, having some nice rotates.
Yep, this is Fade picking up one in the elimination feed. Ghosty finally goes down. I think he got denied entry to the bubble. Only time will tell as you see the leaderboard after the game, but Nate still inside of the bubble, but he is getting under attack here, trying to stay alive. 55 damage above the threshold. I think at this stage of the game, it might not be too much to worry about, and for him, he might not have to worry about it. In combat, and Zays, though, on the high ground yet again, from shambles of tilted towers in previous games to controlling the high ground in the final game.
We've seen Combat and Zay battle it out for the high ground multiple times today. We know they like it. We know they want it. Now in the 7th zone, they finally have it. The question is, will they be able to hold it? There's a lot of Titan teams on the 2nd to high ground here. You can see Cable, you can see Kenzo, you can see Hound, and it looks like they want it too.
Yeah, Zay's in combat. They're just trying to force these players down little by little, but I don't know if they know Hound and Prism is there. Yesterday, I do believe I've seen Hound and Prism try to go for a high ground retake late in the game, just like Kenzo and Caleb earlier on today. And they're taking that damage in the storm. This is the perfect moment they've been waiting for. High ground attempt could be underway. Nobody's really watching the backside as they're taking that damage in order to take the high ground. Combat's going to get dropped. Zay's by himself. He has no other choice but to follow suit. High ground has successfully been stolen.
Once again, taking high ground a bit too early can have its consequences as Zay and Combat have lost it. But I believe Nate, he's still going. He's clutching those points little by little. Maybe is going to be able to successfully get that as a solo. Get it done. Get the qual in the top 6. But taking a look at Nick Jaw here, who has the high ground now with Zeno. G's here, 105 points on the low ground. 4 points away from the cutoff. That elimination would be 3, but it's unable to connect the shots. Does not get the elimination. Nate now on 115. Looks like he's already made it in the predictive cutoff range. 2 eliminations, 6 points from Elims, and the rest replacement.
Yeah, you saw Kenzo and Caleb go down. That was 2nd place. 1st place is living on a prayer. A team on the bubble just inched in another place from 9th to 8th before our very eyes, sitting on 104. Elders trying to take down Combat, and Zay's on the high ground. I think he's going to be denied that opportunity, but they still have to drop down low. There's more pressure, more work for them to do here to finish this game.
Combat, 3 eliminations. Zays, I mean, they're going back and forth. Jacob Boyo here alongside his teammate Glow have a total of 7 eliminations. They're at 110 points. I mean, there's so many teams close to this cutoff here. Boyo and his teammate, they want to stay alive though. 7 duos, 12 players. They've got some contestation here on their layer though. They're gonna have to battle it out if they want to alpha it out.
Yeah, double steel wall to give themselves a little extra cover. A little less pressure, but finally find one into the box. Yellow Glow goes down. Pollo's doing what he can. I don't think he got the trade in the knocks, so it's just going to be his teammate going down without a trade. He's on that bubble, just inched himself into 6th place, has to stay alive. A couple placement points are necessary so he can confidently celebrate if he does go down. Sneaky shot towards the backside, unable to land it, but he's going ahead and traversing. One more team needs to go down. I think that will cement himself a spot here, but his HP continues to dwindle.
15 HP to work with, 112 points literally on the cutoff right now to qualify through consistency, and he's doing the best he can to stay alive. Has to get into zone though. That's a duo. Do anything he can. See if he can get a shot off. See if he can get a knock. Now only 4 duos alive. That's 7 players. Poyer is doing such a great job of staying alive here with a 140 pump now on the low ground.
Depending on if this goes back up, he has to think of something. He goes down. It's down to a 2v2 situation here, I do believe. Slicksy and Vibes versus Combat and Zays. Combat is backtracking into the zone. He has the med miss. It does look like he's going to go to a heal off. Shooting the lone player. He gets the victory out. Combat and Zays qualify.
That's it, Jacob, from losing the high ground in the first moving zones to not stressing about it, making the comeback, retaking the high ground, and finally finishing it off with the victory royale. Zays and Combat are going to be our Game 5 winners and are going to be going straight to the finals.
Yep, from barely missing out on that qualification in multiple chances, multiple times, they finally get the job done. And the thing is, I was so focused on that victory royale in the end, I lost track of who was in the bubble. I'll tell you that much, Takata. This one could definitely come down to the wire for multiple teams getting their shot at the finals.
What we know is that Combat and his duo Zays are going to the finals. What we don't know is who made it within that qualification range through consistency, which is those 6 players. But that's it for me and Jacob here in the casting booth. We're going to throw it back to Kelly, Panda, and Clay to break that down for us.
I just want to let it be known that Combat and Zays were around below 25th place before that game. So to not only get enough points to potentially qualify just through points, but also to wrap it up in an incredible VR, that's exactly what I want to see here on day 2 of the semifinals. Panda, 5 games are done. It's been a long but exciting day.
Absolutely. And the fact that they wouldn't let it go to the heal off, right? He had the med miss. He could have continued to go backwards. But he said, you know what? No, I'm not going to do this. I'm whipping out the MK7. I'm going to take those shots at this player and ultimately get that nice elimination to finish it all off.
And realistically, he was at 103 points. He needed the win. If that prediction is right of 109 and they go down in 2nd place there, they wouldn't have gotten the elimination confirmations. So that victory royale needed to come through. But look at 60s and Vibes working so well together. 500 damage above Surge at this point. They were chilling. Gets in another elimination. 60s with 2 back-to-back on the Caleb and Kenzo, taking them out, securing their qualification. And look, just another one. 60 was just running over players on the low ground.
It definitely was. It was not even a contest, right? If you were in Slicksy's way, you were getting eliminated in that moment. So an impressive game there from BBZ and Slicksy's. And I got to say, look, eliminations are great. Obviously, it worked out in their favor, but sometimes that's risky. But you know, in game 5, I'll let it slide.
And they were so close. I think we saw them around 9th place there and then kind of jumping up into 4th place. But obviously the team that I was looking for was actually tied for 7th place. So I have to look at Nate and Frappi, of course, my team, my prediction, the team that seemed to be so close every time, Clay.
They were just right there. Nate clutched up really big. Got an elimination on Nagosi, and just look at how they're using this mobility to get them ahead of the zone, minimizing the amount of builds that they have to use. They're going to find Juvan here on the other side. Look, they steal that elimination away from the 1st place team at that moment, ending at 124 points, going down shortly after. That might have been just enough to qualify Nate and Frappe for the finals.
I mean, that solo run was incredible, and we keep seeing these solo runs in the semifinals format. And although it didn't end up in a victory royale like we've seen with Peterbot, just being able to stay ahead of the zone, being aware of everything that's around him. So many pros talk about map awareness, and that is exactly what we saw from Nate there. So just a quick reminder of the 5 teams that were able to grab victory royales today. Let's take a quick look at which teams are going to be moving forward to the finals next week. Of course, we saw it in game number 1. That's Hav and Notch, Mojo and Sako. Right after them, Harito and Kytrex grabbed the 3rd VR. Bumboy and G5 RC were after that. And then finally, at the very end, in the 2v1 situation, it was Combat and Zays. So congratulations to these 5 teams right here. But of course, we also have to look at our top 10 leaderboard. And yes, in 6th place, it's Frappe and Nate. I knew it. I knew it was going to happen. Sorry. Okay. Panda, please.
Okay, so we got to talk about everybody in the top 6, right? We have some great names here from Kyoto and Trey. You got Slixies and Vivi with those eliminations carrying them up to the top. Caleb and Kenzo, more or less getting that in 3 games. You got to talk about it. They were up at the top there in 3 with the 3rd game not scoring in a single point. And then another huge shout out for J Rose and E22 as well. This is another team that was very, very consistent throughout the day, but almost lost it there in the final game. So for them, they made it by the skin of their teeth. But hey, look, great performances for the top 6 there. And look, if you weren't in this top 6 and you're going into day 3, it's all about how you can come back on top there in the final day. How can I be more consistent? How can I solidify a VR? I mean, all that stuff is so important going into the final day, because this is legitimately the final opportunity for these players to come out and get into the finals.
And I definitely feel like there was a standard path to success that we saw in qualifiers 1 and 2 and even yesterday's game. But today just shook everything up. We saw heel-offs, we saw low ground wins, we saw high ground retakes over and over and over in a single in-game. So there's a lot of opportunities. And of course, we have to look at the opportunities to shine on ourselves. So let's look at predictions, because I feel like, I don't know, someone predicted something correct in the... Wait,
so,
what?
Just to let you know, Kelly, production and I had a conversation there, and we both came to the conclusion that, unfortunately, because you were attempting to change your prediction there early, you were, in fact, disqualified. So sorry. You were so close to getting a prediction right this season, but unfortunately, due to that disqualification, you are not going to be able to walk out on top. But you know what? Day 3, it's not only for the players, right? You could come out on top, too, tomorrow.
Well, much like the predictions, you can't really predict what's going to be happening here on the FNCS. Clay, real quick before we go, day 3, the final day for these teams to qualify into the finals, and that's where the money is. You can have a great performance in the semis and qualifiers, but that doesn't mean anything if you don't make it into the finals. So what are you hoping to see tomorrow?
I actually am hoping to see a lot more players going for the victory royale, because I have a feeling it's going to be a little passive. For some reason, I'm feeling like a lot of players are going to play consistent, and I really, really want to see these high, intense last moments going for high ground with 4 or 5 different teams.
It's going to be absolutely insane, everyone. The final day of semifinals to find the 50 teams that will be duking it out in our finals next week is going to be happening tomorrow, same time, same place. So make sure you set your alarm, because you definitely aren't going to want to miss it. But on behalf of Takata and Jacob, and of course our incredible teams in Europe and NA East, we appreciate you guys joining us here, and we can't wait to see you next time.